Live. We are live. All right. 3, 4, 5. We are live. Ramon, can you hear me?
I can hear you, man. I can hear you loud and clear. Welcome to the Customer Amazement Summit with Shep Hyken and Ramon Ray. What's up?
Hey, man. In just a moment, we're going to officially start, but we're just going to let some folks come in. I'm not seeing anybody here yet, but I know that yes, they're coming in. The numbers, they're growing exponentially. Hundreds and hundreds of people. Okay, tens of people.
Hundreds of thousands.
We got Scotty Warner in the house. Scotty's coming on in just a few minutes. He's going to talk to us about 250,000 customer support calls, and we're going to learn some valuable insights from him. We've got an incredible lineup. Ramon, what's going on in your world? You're in New York.
I am in the New York area. Absolutely. Listen, we're all about customer service, the premier customer service place. Sometimes I jest, sometimes I not. But I'm good, Shep. Today I did a good walk in the sometimes I debate between going around my little development area, townhouses and stuff, or I go to the local park. So I was good. I had some granola for breakfast, trying to be a little healthier. As you know, Shep, once in a while I have my burnt pancakes with high fructose corn syrup. What can I say? But I'm blessed and I'm doing good.
Do you have some high fructose corn syrup to get you fired up for today?
Today I didn't have that. I did some push-ups. I did 50 push-ups or so and a fast walk. That's what I did.
That's good. Well, let me tell you who's showing up. We got Dan Gingiss, who's going to show up later on. There's my man Dan. And of course, we got Scotty and Jared Garson all the way from Ohio. He's a college boy. And Jared, I'm just going to give you a little hint on what's to come. By the way, is that your junior high school picture? So I know Jared. Jared is 6'4" right now. And if I see him, he's probably going to beat me up for saying this. But Jared, you got a surprise coming in the mail. Compliments of your aunt and uncle coming up real soon. Yeah. Laurie Guest is here. She's going to be joining us in a little while. One of our great speakers. Debbie Hart from Phoenix. Debbie, how are you? She and I do lots of corresponding on, I guess it's Twitter, LinkedIn, and then there's Dennis Snow. Woo! Dennis Snow, who's actually, I believe Dennis is our closing speaker today. Is that right? Yeah. I got to make sure I have this. And he's going to lessons from the mouse. And that's going to be Mickey Mouse, that is. And there's no Mickey Mouse around. That's when Mickey Mouse becomes serious business. We're going to learn from him. We have so many people. So in just a moment, we're going to get started. Let's give everybody another minute or so to come on in here. Hey, Vivek, nice to see you. Let's see who else is coming in. We have
Robert Kennedy's here, Shep, as well.
Robert Kennedy, the third.
And also, Shep, Carmen says she had I saw some junk food somewhere there. What did she say? Oh, I had a candy apple to start. My girl.
So we need that sugar. So I'm just going to warn everybody, we are going to take a couple of breaks. There's going to be short breaks, basically bio breaks throughout. But outside of that, I would encourage you to order a pizza, have the sushi delivered, the Chinese food, whatever, your favorite hamburger, have it delivered because we're going to be together for the next few hours. Look at this. We have Maxine Clark. Let me tell you about Maxine Clark. Maxine is, you're in my life, you're always going to be the ultimate and only chief executive bear. She founded Build-A-Bear. Build-A-Bear. All over the world, Build-A-Bear. Maxine is with us today. Maxine, I don't know, maybe next time we do one of these, I want you on the program because you and I, we run into each other at airports all over the world. It's interesting where we travel together, but Maxine has done an amazing job of creating the most awesome customer experience. And then, of course, we have Dave Simon, who is follically challenged, my brother. Dave is an amazing musician. So we're going to get cranking here in just a moment. And when we do that, the first thing we're going to be talking about is customer amazement. And I'm going to set the tone for what's to follow in just a few minutes with all of our wonderful speakers and the folks we're going to be interviewing. By the way, that's what's making this a little bit different, Ramon.
Yeah.
In exactly 37 seconds from now, we're going to start in with the content. And my goal, and this is what happened, is we interviewed all of the speakers. And rather than just let the speakers talk, I said, there's certain pieces of information I want the speakers to share. Right. And we get right into, once we introduce them, every speaker, you're going to get 2 or 3 major takeaways. Each speaker is going to be anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes at the most. So it's just rapid fire, lots of changes. What do you think, Ramon? Are you ready?
I'm ready to go, Shep. I know we've worked so hard on this, Shep, for the last several weeks, it seems, or months. You've been so great to work with. Your team has been great to work with. People are excited, from Build-A-Bear to somebody who's eating candy apple for breakfast, and everybody in between. Shep, take it away. Amazing global speaker, author, and more. Shep Hyken, Customer Amazement Summit. I think it's going to begin right now.
I love it right now. And by the way, people from Kuwait are here, people from Colombia. Roberto Martinez, my friend he was, hello, hola. That's about it. Yo quiero Taco Bell. That's how much, I don't know Spanish, but I do love the food and I love Colombia. All right, let's talk about customer amazement. We'll get right into it. I believe that customer amazement is attainable by everybody who's not only watching this, but any company in any industry. Customer amazement is not over the top. And the reason I want to share this concept with you, it's one of my overarching concepts that I put into virtually every speech that I do. Even if you've heard me 10 times, you're going to hear this like a review. I want to make sure you understand when I talk about amazing your customers, it's not about that over the top, wow, blow me away experience. Now it can be, but most of the time, it's not. Most of the time, it is just a predictable and consistent above average experience. That's all it is, above average. So I want you to think about this. On a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is bad and 5 is amazing, you have bad, you have fair, you have average or satisfactory, you have good, and you have amazing. So what do you need to be amazing all of the time? Just be a little bit better than average or satisfactory. How much better? Just a little bit better. And the point is we want people to say things like, I love doing business with them. They're always so friendly. They're always so helpful. They're always so knowledgeable. And that word always followed by something positive is what you're looking for. And when you can create that experience where it's consistent and predictable, your customers will say that about you. They'll share that with their friends, their colleagues, everyone else. And the bottom line is people will say they're amazing. Why? Because you're always exceeding at least the average expectation. Now, how much better than average do you have to be? As I mentioned, just a little bit better than average. Let's put a number to it. I interviewed Horst Schultz, the first president and co-founder of the Ritz-Carlton hotel chain. He is one of my, I guess I would call him a service guru, service idol. The guy gets what customer experience is all about. And I said, Horst, what does it take to become one of the most recognized brands in the world for quality and luxury, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And he said, just be a little bit better than average all of the time. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have been talking about that for years, and I'm glad we're in sync. But Horst, how much better than average do you have to be? And he said, 10% better. Now think about that. On a scale of 1 to 5, 3 is average. That would mean a 3.3 means 10% above average. And that might mean you are always using the customer's name when it's appropriate. You're smiling at them. You're greeting them. It's the way you may pick up the phone. It's how quickly you might return a phone call. All of these things go toward that above average experience. And this is really important too. When something goes wrong, every once in a while, something will. The customer will say, I love doing business with them because even when there's a problem, they will always take care of me. What we're trying to avoid is people saying they're okay, they're average, they're fine. I mean, after all, what is fine? Fine. It's a 4-letter word that starts with F. I refer to it as the F-bomb of customer service. The goal is better than fine all of the time. So let's get right into this and start talking about how you become amazing by introducing our first speaker who I'll be interviewing, and he is a great friend of mine. His name is James Dodkins. He is a customer experience rock star. Literally, the guy was a rock star in real life and decided to take that experience and bring it into the world of customer service and experience. He's a global keynote speaker who I have seen literally all over the world. We've been to Mexico, South America. We've been to Europe. I was in Paris with him last year. Of course, I've worked with him here in the U.S. A couple of times in Las Vegas. He is also the host of Amazon Prime's This Week in Customer Service. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let me introduce to you my friend, James Dodkins. All right, let's hear it for James. James, welcome to the Customer Amazement Summit. It is so good to see your smiling face all the way from the UK.
Well, it is good to be seen all the way from beautiful America.
You're our first speaker. So we have somebody coming up from Australia.
Wow.
And then, of course, we have people that their ancestors were born elsewhere, but because you have to go way back, but to find it. But hey, great to see you here. And you are truly a rock star. You're a great friend. We connected because, number one, you are an amazing customer service and experience expert, but also we have a mutual passion for music. I see your guitars. I see what looks like a Telly on one end. I see a PRS. I'm not sure, Gibson, what do I have?
These are ESPs.
ESPs, oh yeah, ESP. People say, Shep, you read minds? I said, like ESP? They go, yeah, they even have asked, do you have ESPN? Ooh. So anyway, let's get right into it. James, you are, talk about Rockstar customer experience. We're gonna talk about what today?
We're gonna talk about the 6 elements of Rockstar customer experience, the 6 elements that you tend to find in really, really good customer experiences.
All right, well, let's jump right into it. Give us number 1.
1 is easy. So basically,
easy.
Yeah, make the experience as easy as possible for the customer. Remove the number of steps in the experience for the customer.
Yep, I wrote an entire book about that called The Convenience Revolution. And the first of the 6 principles, and isn't that amazing? There's 6 principles of convenience. There's 6 principles and it is simply to reduce friction, which is taking out steps. So that's easy. Can you give us a really quick example of that?
Literally, but I mean, I am going to come back to the convenience thing, and I'm going to tell you the difference between easy and convenient. Ooh. Okay. But I will give you probably the best example in the world for an easy experience is the Amazon one-click purchase.
Bingo.
Because what they, go on.
Done. So what's the difference between easy and convenient?
So for me, easy is the steps in the experience. Convenient is the manner in which the experience is delivered, whether it be in person, in a store, through an app, online, on a tablet, on a kiosk. So for me, I've tried to split those out and make people look at them as 2 distinct, different areas. But convenient is one of the steps, so we'll get to that.
All right, great. Well, I'm looking forward to it. What's number 2?
Number 2 is fast. So you've got easy, and then you've got fast. So make the experience as fast as possible for the customer. Allow the customers to achieve their goal or their outcome in the quickest time possible. Now, in customer experience, there's always, and process, just in the business world, there's always a lot of backwards and forwards. So a customer does something, we do something. Then the customer does something, we do something. And a lot of the mindset towards making an experience quick is about our internal processes. How do we streamline our internal processes to make the overall experience quicker for our customers?
So in the Amazon one-click, that would be considered quick, which ties into easy.
Correct. It is easy, but it's also fast because it takes the amount of things you've got to do and condenses them down. But the example I give for fast is, I'm guessing you have heard of them, but have you heard of the company Lemonade?
Lemonade, yes.
Yeah, the insurance company. So they hold the world record for the world's fastest insurance acceptance and payout. Do you know how long it is?
What is the number?
If I told you it was 3 hours, would you be impressed?
No, because I know a little bit about the insurance industry.
If I told you it was 3 minutes, would you be impressed?
Very impressed.
Well, Shep, my friend, it was 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
3 seconds. So basically, the story, short form, a guy lost a very fancy Canada Goose coat. He claimed in the app, and within 3 seconds, the money was paid out and on its way to his bank account. What Lemonade did was understand that we as businesses spend so much of our time in business administering our distrust of customers. They decided to spend that time understanding the behaviors of people that they could trust and then trust them. We routinely spend $1 million to save 1,000. They decided to do it the other way around and start with that basis of trust, which made their processes and experiences that much faster.
Wow, love it, love it. And by the way, speed is a differentiator in a lot of business. I remember years ago, a salesperson I went with this person on a sales call because I was going to be part of the program and they wanted to introduce the speaker. And then the guy says, so you get a choice of 2 out of 3. You can have it fast, you could have it good quality, or you could have it low price. You get to choose 2 out of 3. And I'm going, I'm trying to figure this out. Does this really work? And the answer today is you don't necessarily have to be low price, but it's like customers want it all. All right. So I love speed. Number 3.
Well, number 3 is convenience. And I feel that I'm not really the qualified one here to talk about convenience. But again, convenience for me is about delivering the experience in the method and the way at the time in the place that best suits the customer. Because it's not always just about having an app. It's not always just about doing a kiosk. It's not always about saying, you have to understand who your customers are, what their real needs are, what it is you need to deliver to them, and then deliver that experience in the way that best suits your customer. So, I mean, the best story I've ever heard about convenience, funnily enough, my friend, came from you, and it's about the vending machines and the mini bars in hotels. Right. But Shep, I've forgotten that story. Can you remind me of that story?
Sure.
Please?
Well, actually, we're going to tell that story.
Oh, sorry.
Here, but no,
ruined it.
The short version of it is that you got a mini refrigerator in your room, and everything's about 3 or 4 times more expensive than the soda machine down the hall. But people really feel much more comfortable about, not taking their clothes, putting them back on and walking out in the hall. They'd rather just pay the extra money. But that's why convenience stores, less selection than a grocery store, a little bit higher price, people want to go there. It's easy. So that's logistical convenience. And that's why when I talk about convenience, and we're going to do the 6 convenience principles later on, is that you've got your reducing friction, which is essentially eliminating steps. And if you start to look at all the stats and facts, you'll find that all of these contribute to customers wanting to keep doing business with you. Speed is a big, important one. By the way, back when you were just a child that couldn't even tie your own shoes, I was talking about how speed is a differentiator between great companies. And this is what happens. People used to go to the grocery store, and the checker would put in all the numbers manually. Then all of a sudden, scanning came along, and the checkout process became even faster. Yeah. And all of a sudden, customers said, I like fast. Now I expect fast everywhere. So, All right, number 4.
Number 4, trackable. Make the experience trackable. So give transparency to the customer. Allow the customer to see the process they're going to have to go through, and let them see where they are in that process. Absolute best example in the world, the Domino's pizza tracker.
Oh, love it. Love it. It's an app, and you log into the app. You can see exactly what's happening with your pizza. It's in the oven. It's out of the oven.
Yeah. And it's not just the fact that it tells you what's happening now. It's telling you what's going to happen in the future. These are the steps that you will need to go through in order to get your pizza. And this is where you are right now. Trackability is something that can take an otherwise very normal experience to the next level.
I think the reason is that people love having information. It gives them a sense of control.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. So trackable, love it. Number 5.
Number 5, personalized. Make the experience unique to me as a customer, or at least feel that way. You're the wrong person to be talking to here, because the other best story in the world I heard about personalization also comes from you, the hotel one. Are you going to be telling that one later as well?
No, I won't. You tell it.
Okay, so my friend Shep Hyken told me a story once. I'm going to get all the particulars wrong now, so you can correct me afterwards. But he was staying in a hotel, I believe, in Michigan.
Yes.
Right.
Actually, yes, it was in Michigan. Yep.
So I got the first thing right. I believe it was a Crowne Plaza.
It was.
I believe it was on the 18th of May. No, I don't know when it was.
And you were at the room next door, and I didn't know it. You were stalking me.
I was the guy you complained about the loud music with. That was me. So as far as I'm aware, my friend Shep Hyken is a road warrior. He travels around the world, and he puts in a lot of miles. When he got into the room, on the little table in front of him, there was a little shoe care kit, a little shoe shine kit, a little kit with things that you can care for your shoes with. And then a little written card that said, this shoe care kit will work wonders on the shoes of a road warrior. And Shep went, wow, isn't that cool? But
very cool.
There's more. Not only is Shep a road warrior, he's also a world-class magician. Ooh, let's see if I can. Wow, magic. That was an impromptu little magic trick there. And he looked over, and next to the shoe shine kit was a 6-pack of beer. It might have been a 4-pack, it might have been a crate, I don't know specifically. And that beer was called Staff Magician, which is a local Michigan beer, which is another thing personalized to him. And he thought, wow, isn't that cool? But that wasn't it. But wait, there's more. Also, not only is Shep a road warrior, not only is Shep a world-class magician, he's also a pretty good guitarist as well. He's better than me, but don't tell him that I told you that. And in the corner of the room sat there was an acoustic guitar with a handwritten note sat next to it that said, we know that you love to make music, and we thought you might like to make some music when you spend time with us, from your friends at the Crown Plaza. And Shep thought, wow, isn't that cool? But that wasn't it. There was one more thing. Do you remember what that one more thing is, Shep?
I do.
So after Shep had done his day's amazing work, he came back to the hotel room, and that hotel room had been turned down. And on the bed, instead of the usual mint, there was a little top hat with a chocolate bunny in it.
I was hoping you were going to go there. The chocolate bunny.
Chocolate bunny. That's the best bit of the story, man. The chocolate bunny.
I love it. And I got to tell you, the chocolate bunny is far better than finding a horse head in your bed, which for those that have ever read The Godfather, you know what I'm talking about.
Weirdly, off track a little bit here. I stayed at a hotel for best part of a year at one point, and they invited me to the opening of a restaurant that was being opened within the grounds of the restaurant. The way they did it was with a big poster of a horse's head. It was an Italian restaurant. A big poster of a horse's head in my bed. Scared the living daylights out of me.
Oh my.
I obviously remembered it, which is good. But marketing team. Come on.
All right. So we've got 5 out of the 6. You're holding out on me.
The last one is arguably the most interesting one. Hence why it's last, to build the suspense. And it is predictive. So being able to anticipate customers' needs and capitalizing on them, delivering them before the customers even know that they need those needs themselves, or predicting problems that could happen along the way, or will happen along the way, or do happen as they happen, and then fixing them. Predictiveness breeds proactiveness. So the predictive element is making those experiences proactive and predictive, fixing bad things before they even happen, or if they do happen before a customer even notices, or capitalizing on needs that customers have before they even realize that they have them.
So those are amazing. And I've written them down. First is easy. Next, number 2 is, what do I have? Number 2, I can't read my own writing.
Fast.
Because
you wrote it too fast.
Yep, very fast. Convenient. Number 4 is, I should have my glasses on to read. What is it?
Trackable.
Yes, and trackable. Number 5, personalized. And number 6, predictable. And you don't need to be a magician to be predictable. So those are great. And I think there's not a business that can't use all 6 of these, let alone, I always say pick 1 or 2, but no, do all 6. All right, we're down to our last minute together. And I always ask the same question of everybody on the show, every interview I ever do, whether it be on my podcast, video interviews. The one last final thought that you'd like to share with us, something new or something you want to emphasize.
What I'm going to do is share with you how to use this in a really quick and easy way. So in the training that I do, there's a full mechanism around how to use the CX6, but I'm going to give you a little hack. This is CX6 Lite. It's basically 6 little things I'm going to tell you. You're welcome. All you got to do is by yourself or with a team or with a group of people that understand nothing about experience. You need no experience in experience to be able to do this. And you ask these 6 questions. Take an experience. What could we do to make this experience easier? What could we do to make this experience faster? What could we do to make this experience more convenient? What could we do to make this experience trackable? What could we do to make this experience personalized? And what could we do to make this experience predictive? That's all you got to do. Ask those questions and you will get ideas to make your experiences rock star.
Love it. And following up on number 6, I predict that if you ask your team these 6 questions, that you'll raise your customer experience to get closer to iconic rock star status. James Dodkins, my friend, my musician buddy, just all around great guy. Thanks for being here at the Customer Amazement Summit.
Thank you for having me.
Wow. Wow. That was James. Thank you, James. An amazing presentation. Ramon, what do you think?
Shep, that was powerful, man. I know time is short, but I just got to recap
I wrote
that,
it
man.
down.
Easy,
I wrote it
fast.
down myself. You recap. This is your job. Recap.
Yeah. Easy, fast, convenient, trackable, personalized, and predictive. I think, listen, James hit it on the head telling the stories, and I think we've all learned. And Shep, one more thing while he was speaking, man, just a shout out. This is a global summit, Shep. Kenya, Jordan, Nepal, Spain. Hello to the new people who've joined. Shep, I think it was off the chain. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Learned a lot.
did I see somebody, Jackie from Nigeria, or is that from Jackie from Kenya that I saw?
Kenya, I believe it was.
Yeah. Well, gosh, from all over. Well, they're everywhere. Well, it's good to have everybody here. And from Spain, yes, so many folks. Wow. I just want to say, I know, Ramon, there was a lot of information, and we talked about amazement, 10% better than average all the time. Now there's these 6 ideas that James just laid on us. How are people going to remember all of this?
It is going to be hard. And I think people can do 2 things, Shep. Listen, they can go back and they can look at your websites, your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter. But I think you've overruled me, Shep. Like before we were in the green room and Shep was like, no, Ramon, I can't. I'm like, Shep, please don't do it. Don't do it, Shep. He's like, Ramon, I got to do it. I got to do it. So Shep Hyken made an executive decision about what, Shep, an hour ago, 2 days ago, it's all blending to say, if you want this and you haven't registered, you haven't gone to customeramazementsummit.com and registered, if you do that, Shep and I will make sure that you have these talks in case you register late. You can't stay for the whole thing, so don't worry. It is a gift from Shep Hyken.
Right, and before that, we were going to charge for it, but not anymore. No, we're giving it away. How do we do it? Because this is all about, I talked about years ago, wanted to create an amazement revolution, and this just helps us continue on that journey. We have hundreds of people that have signed up and registered for today's event. And I want to make sure that everybody that registers, and by the way, many people are going to come in because they see it's a live feed on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, and they have not registered. Just right now, jump over to customeramazementsummit.com, register, and tomorrow or whenever we are able to pull this together, either tomorrow at the latest, the next day, but probably tomorrow, I will send an email out to everybody showing you where you can get these. And there are no strings attached. No forms to fill out other than we need to know where to send it. So this is it, man. This is it. Agree?
Agreed. Shep, it's been great. Listen, I know time is short, and Shep, we have another great speaker coming up who's done some pretty cool and amazing things, Shep. Who is it and why do they say cool? I know it's going to be a great discussion.
It is exciting because my friend Scotty Warner, who I met a few years ago as he started to get into the speaking and training business, he is the Dean of Students at Spectacular University. And he personally has managed more than 250,000 customer support calls, and he has trained thousands of managers in the customer support role. He's going to give us some great ideas. So, Scotty, come on in. Hey, Scotty, it's great to see you. 250,000 customer service calls and training over 3,000 customer service peeps. Talk to me about this. You are like, in my mind, what are they, the 10,000 hour thing? You've done it, okay? All in the world of customer service. Talk to us about what you've learned.
Well, thanks, Shep. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you. Over the years, with all of those phone calls and all of those customer service trainings, what I've learned is there's a foundation that everybody needs in order to deliver spectacular service. And over the years,
so is it one thing?
No, it's 6.
It's 6 things.
It's the 6 things. So going around the country talking about these 6 things, one of the audience members said, "Hey, these are too challenging to remember. Can you come up with an acronym?" I said, "Sure, we can." So we created the acronym called SAINTS. SAINTS. And
Saints.
Each letter stands for something that the customer service professional should use while they're talking to the client, trying to transform a transaction into a relationship.
Love it. Love it. So what's S? That's number 1.
Number 1, S, the most powerful gesture in the world. Smile.
Smile. Even when you're on the phone.
Even when you're on the phone, yeah, your clients can definitely hear the difference between when you're smiling and when you're not.
Yeah. All right. That's S. A, that's number 2.
A is actively listen to your client.
All right. That sounds simple. Actively listen. Expand on that just a bit.
Sure. And let me give you a little bit of a story or a background behind that. Most of the people will ask yes or no questions all day long. And after 5 or 6 of them, it feels like an interrogation is going on. So I like to tell the team, ask an open-ended question and then pause, which is the hardest thing in the world to do. If you take a look at any of these TV reporters or interviews or any channels, they'll ask, Shep, what was the most challenging part of your business for the first year? Was it finding new employees? Was it getting more money? So they answer their own open-ended question, which points the client in a completely different way. So
Because they hate the dead air.
They hate the dead air. You've asked them a phenomenal question. It's very difficult for them to formulate an answer very quickly because it's not a yes or no, and it takes time. So pause, let them answer the question, and you'll learn a lot about the client by actively listening, by asking an open-ended question.
All right, so that's S, that's A, and then we have the I.
The I is make the client feel important.
So just simply, what can you say to make that person feel like they're appreciated and important? So that's I. N.
N, we take a little bit from Dale Carnegie, where he says, remember a person's name. A person's name to that person is the sweetest sound in any language. And I take it a step further. Yes, remember the person's name, Shep. Use it as often as possible in a conversation.
Now, I'm going to push back a little bit because that's what I do sometimes. And the name thing's great, but sometimes when I hear somebody using my name the way they're using it over and over, it's like, it almost feels like, how do they get my name into the script? You know what I mean? It's just, it's overdone. Is there a point where it is overdone?
I think with anything, whether you're having too much pizza for the weekend, whether you're having too much chocolate cake, yeah, everything should be done in moderation. The key is to make sure that you acknowledge that person at the beginning of the conversation and at least at the end.
Right. I just want for the record to say that pizza and chocolate cake, no moderation. It's okay to indulge, to overindulge. All right. So N is name, S-A-I-N-T.
T is talk in terms of what the other people are interested in. People like to talk about themselves. They like to talk about their mom, their dad, their sister, their brother, their grandchild, going to the Blues hockey game, whatever that may be. If you get your client talking about what's important to them or what's interesting to them, you'll be able to transform that transaction into a relationship.
Yeah. By the way, what you don't realize is what Scotty just did is he snuck in there like going to the Blues hockey game, because Scotty knows that I am a huge St. Louis Blues fan. So Scotty, just on that one sentence alone, you connected with me. You made me pay attention to you more. You made me trust you more. You know what? I like you even more than when we started this interview. So,
I didn't think that was possible, Shep.
I know, because I already love you. All right, so S-A-I-N-T, and there's one more.
The last S is be sincere and be authentic and be genuine. And let me give you a quick example of what I mean by that, Shep. I was up in Atlanta and I asked the group, the audience, where should I go for dinner? And everybody said, you got to go to Moe's Southwest Grill. I said, never been there before. I'll step out of my comfort zone and give it a try. As soon as I opened the door and walked across the threshold, everybody in the facility, from the owner to the customers to the people behind the register, said, welcome to Moe's.
Yeah.
And it felt awesome. And I felt that sincerity. And contrast that to when I went to a franchise haircut place last week. And as you can see, I need to go again. My hair is out of control. When I walked in the door, they said, hello, welcome to our haircut place. And it sounded like they were dead inside. And what I came up with was the management team at the haircut place said, this is what we should do, as opposed to the leadership team at Moe's hired specifically for those people that were sincere and wanted to create a great customer experience.
Good. Perfect segue. So we got the SAINTS. We get that. Great takeaways. That's what you're teaching. That's what you've learned after 250,000 calls yourself. You learn these are 6, call them principles, if you will, that will make that support call to make the interaction. By the way, I say call. It could be in person too. Yeah. And I love the Moe's example because I love the energy. And by the way, when you start the interaction with that level of energy, it stays up and you can carry it through. So we've got just a few minutes left. Let's talk about the training side for just a minute or two, and then I want to wrap up with one final nugget. So hold off for a real good one to share with us for that last one. But in the meantime, a couple of training tips.
A couple of training tips. When you're going out to the floor or you're calling your remote employee on the phone, ask them what they specifically need to help. For example, you'll walk out onto the floor and one of your customer service reps, and you ask them, hey, Mary or Dave, what can I do to help you out? They're usually always going to say, I'm good. I have this. I'm all caught up. And 99% of the time, they're not. So from a leadership standpoint, I want the training, ladies and gentlemen, to reach back out and say, look, I know that you're busy. I know you may not want to give me something, but let me help you take something off of your plate. And by doing that, you'll be able to transition yourself from a manager to a leader by showing them, hey, you're in this together. And it gives you the opportunity to see what your team is really going through when they're answering 100 or 200 phone calls a day.
Right. So I'm going to go back to that final S. And when you ask that question, be sincere. Want the answer, because and push for the answer, because if your employees, your team members give you an answer, you've got to be ready to act on it. All right, we're down to the final question, the one thing question. I want you to give us the one final nugget that you want to share that we're going to go out of here and say, you know what? If all I heard was just that, that was worth hanging out with Scotty for a few minutes.
That's a tough one. You put me on the spot. Well, let me share a quick Reader's Digest version of actively listening.
Okay.
My friend went down to Sarasota, Florida, and he likes to stay at the Marriott hotels. We checked in the summertime in, I think, July or August. And when he was checking in, he told the lady at the front desk, I don't like to run on the treadmill inside. I like to get out and run outside. So do you happen to have a little path? She said, absolutely. What you'll do is when you change, you go down to the Chase overhang. It's blue. Make a right-hand turn. Run for about 1.5 miles. You'll hit the wall, turn around and come back. 2 miles to the wall, 2 miles to come back. He said, great, thank you very much. That's going to be awesome. 4 miles. He went upstairs, changed his clothes, headed out, waved to the manager and the lady at the front desk, and headed out for his run. He made a right-hand turn at the Chase Blue overhang, ran towards the wall and turned around. And it's Florida, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He saw these absolutely evil storm clouds coming. No way he's fast enough to make it back in. However, he thought, I can get back to the Chase Blue overhang. As he did, the storm just opened up and it rained, and you saw people, collecting 2x2 animals. It was raining so much around the place. So he stood there and thought, I've got to run back to the hotel. And in that instance, a Marriott van pulled up and rolled down his window. It was Jeffrey, who was the manager, who was actively listening while he was checking in. And he said, Mr. Connor, would you like a ride back to the hotel? We knew you went out there for the run. We didn't think you'd make it in this storm, so we sent the shuttle out for you. He hopped in the shuttle, and there was a nice dry towel, a bottle of water, and it took him back to the hotel. Phenomenal experience, because that manager was actively listening to what was important to that client.
Yep, and that's amazing. Great story, great example. Hey, Scotty, 250,000 calls. You've trained over 3,000 people, professional. You are amazing. Thanks for being here on a summit. And this is why we call it Achieving Customer Amazement, because we are learning nuggets from people like Scotty Warner on how to do exactly that, create amazement. All right, man. Amazing. Customer amazement, Scotty Warner. When he first started, he had a full head of hair And after all those customer service calls, it all fell out, but it's starting to finally grow back, which is pretty great.
Shep, that is crazy, man. This is off the chain. I think the thing I learned, Shep, from Scotty's talk is the aspect of silence. You know, we think we have to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. That's my forte, what we do, but just pausing. So I learned in the Marriott story, man, that was just off the chain. Absolutely amazing, Shep. Absolutely amazing.
Every once in a while, you just got to be quiet. That's hard for people like you and me. We're speakers. So, hey, and what we're going to do now, I'm going to share 3 ideas in 3 minutes. Then we're going to bring on Jason Bradshaw all the way from Australia. And then when we come back, we're going to have an extra few minutes. I'd like to take some Q&A. So as we see questions coming in, we're going to actually take note of them. We'll drop them in and we'll go from there. So Ramon, I want you to time me, okay? If I go over 3 minutes, you got to let me know.
I will do that. Listen, are you ready? Everybody is going to do it with us. And by the way, if you're hearing me, can you just put it, if you're enjoying this session, before Shep begins to pump him up, put CAS in the comment. CAS rocks in the comment right now.
CAS,
if you hear the
Customer Amazement Summit rocks. All
Shep,
right.
Are you ready? 5,
I'm ready.
4,
I'm ready.
3, 2, boom.
All right, 3 minutes, but I first got to do a shout out to my buddy Jim Woodcock, who's watching. He plays opposite me on the opposite team on hockey. Look out, Jimmy. I'm coming your way Friday morning. All right, 3 ideas in 3 minutes. Real simple concepts. Number 1, our customers expect us to be knowledgeable. And knowledgeable means when they talk to us about what we sell, products or services, we need to have the answers. But you know what else? They want us to be knowledgeable about them. If we've not talked to them or met them before, we want to, look at this, I'm already on number 2. Apparently I skipped, I went to knowledge first. You'll see consistency in just a second. But if we hadn't met them before, ask the right questions. If we have done business with them before, we should have a system, a technology, a CRM, customer relationship management software program that will allow us to see what they bought in the past, what they've called about before, the issues they might have had. Knowledge of both our customer and, of course, our product and service. All right, number 1. We'll go back to number 1. So we started with number 2. This is just to mix it up a little. Number 1 is consistency. And there's 3 areas of consistency I want you to think about. Number 1 is, we'll go back to your product. Your product or service that you sell needs to consistently do what it's supposed to do. Now, of course, once in a while, there'll be problems. That's why we have people to support our customers. But consistency in product. Number 2, consistency in the channel. In other words, if you call me or you email me, I want the result at the end to be the same. But recognize, if you call me and I put you on hold for, say, an hour, by the time I come on, you're not going to be happy. But if you email me and I get back to you within an hour, you're going to say, wow, that was fast. So you need to understand what your customers' expectations are and consistently meet them at whatever channel, whether it be email, text, voice, even in person. All right, number 3 is to act like an owner. Number 3 is to act like an owner, which means you want everybody in your organization to take responsibility, step up, recognize what it takes to take care of the customer and to deliver on it. And I'll give you a quick example. I met a gentleman named Clark. He was 18 years old. He worked at a pizza restaurant in Colorado. He came up to me after one of these presentations. He said, Shep, I got to tell you what happened to me last night. One of our guests asked if I was the owner. Now, the kid looks 18. He doesn't look old enough to own the restaurant. So I said, wow, that's pretty cool. Why did they ask that? He goes, I wondered the same. So I asked the guest. And the guest said, you seem to be taking so much pride in what you're doing and taking care of us. We thought you must be the owner. Well, he beamed with pride. And he said, I want every table to think that I am the owner or maybe the owner's son of this restaurant. So empower your people to take responsibility and act like an owner, a leader. All right, 3 minutes. I did it exactly on time. Yes? Outstanding. He's got the clock on.
I was muted. Shep, 2 minutes and about 40 seconds according to my timer. It's right here. It's still going.
So I have another 20 seconds. Is that what you're saying? Well, let me just tell you what happened on that last one. Clark wanted to act like an owner for 2 reasons. Number 1, he respected the owner, the boss, that or a leader, whoever it was. You respect who you work for, and he wanted to emulate what his boss would do. And number 2, his boss hired a good person and trusted that person to go out there and take care of those guests. So the guest could be any type of customer, client, member, associate, resident, depending on what type of business you're in. Make sure you empower them to go out and to deliver. All right, I used my 20 seconds.
Shep, that was amazing. You know what you get, Shep, because you've done this? You get the Ramon Bell.
All right, I love the Ramon Bell. All right, it's time to introduce our next speaker, who is Jason Bradshaw. He is the Chief Customer and Marketing Officer at Volkswagen in Australia, and he is a best-selling author, and his book is called It's All About Sex. Ooh, that's an interesting title, but you're going to learn what that means in just a moment. My friend Jason from all the way over in Australia is going to share with us some amazing insights as to what he's done with this amazing company that he works for. Let's go, Jason. We got a great conversation. Jason, it's great to see you. You're on the other side of the world. Thanks for joining us here on the Customer Amazement Summit.
Thanks, Shep. It's great to be with you.
So, by the way, we're going to talk about sex in just a moment, and that's CEX. But this is what impresses me most. When you and I, at the very first time we talked, you talked about where VW as a brand was in Australia. And there were about 24 manufacturers that you were being, dealerships, whatever you want to call it, brands that you were being benchmarked. Well, there's about 24 of them, and you were third from the bottom. And I remember your goal saying, I want to move us out of this, obviously, get better. I jokingly say you were in the half that made the top half possible, but you said, I need to get to the top quartile. And that's what I want this discussion to be about. First of all, how long ago did you start, and where are you today?
So we launched our program just 4 years ago, which seems a lifetime ago now. And we're just bouncing on the edges of that top quartile now across both sales and what we'd call after sales. Most of your viewers would think as of service. So we're not quite there yet, but we've absolutely built into our way of operating a continuous improvement path. And so we're bouncing on that top quartile, and we'll be there soon.
Now, I mean, think about it. In just 4 years, you've gone from about number 20 to like 6 or 7. That's pretty impressive. So how did you do it?
Well, it all comes down to intentionality and having a really clear focus on what's next. And Shep, you joined us at a number of our events over the years, one here in Australia where we really kickstarted our passion for customer and employee experience. And the theme of that event was the 1%. You know, those small things make a difference. And when you do small things every day to improve, they add up over time. And that's why, you know, we have some dealerships who have improved their Net Promoter Score by 30%. And we've also got some dealerships who, unfortunately, have only improved by 1 or 2%. And that's the key, taking action every day. It doesn't have to be big action, but just action every day towards the goal.
Yeah, it's small, little, incremental changes and effort that actually will, over time, create big change. And that, you wrote this little book called, I believe, the 1%. Was it just called 1%? I have a copy of that somewhere.
Yeah, so 100 Ways to Wow. I actually have a copy just here.
Imagine that.
So this one is called 100 Ways to Wow Your Team Members. The original one was 100 Ways to Wow, and it had 101 tips on how someone could improve the experience that they were delivering to a customer. And since then, we've gone on to write two more, 100 Ways to Wow Your Team Members and 100 Ways to Wow Your Community. And in every one of those, there's 101 tips, because we can always do 1% more.
That's right, and that's the 1%. So give me just real quickly 1 or 2 1% strategies.
Yeah. So use my name. You know, we talk a lot about personalization in this world, but we forget to use people's names. So use their name. The second thing that we talk about a lot is do the follow-up. The sale is the starting block. The relationship happens well and truly after the sale. So do the follow-up. Make sure you delivered on all your promises. And then I've got to give you a third one. I know you only asked for 2. I'll give you the third one, and that is create a relationship. So it's no good to do the transaction, follow up on it, and then fail to create a relationship. Because ultimately, customer experience is about creating a lifetime owner and advocate.
Right. And by the way, whether you're in the automobile business or manufacturing or retail, it doesn't make any difference. Number one, as Jason said, and I just used his name, use the name. That's such an easy way to personalize. Number two, follow up, basically do what you say you're going to do. And if you look at the sale as just the sale, where you close the deal, that ends a relationship. I believe that sales, the first sale, second, third, fourth, those are interactions which lead to more. So focus on there. And the third, which is what you didn't just go 1% on me, you went 50% on me by giving us that third one. So that's great. So awesome ideas. And there's so many little things you could do to make things better. Let's talk about that book, Sex, because and I love just saying sex, and it's not S-E-X, it's C-E-X, which stands for
Customer and Employee Experience, which in the book, I provide practical how-to steps to get any business started in improving and enhancing the lives of their customers and their employees. Because Shep, as you and I both know, it's the experience that you deliver to your employees that ultimately impacts the customer that they're serving. So this book is, hopefully it convinces you that you need to look at customer and employee experience as a strategic, operational part of your business, and then gives you some really simple ways to implement and execute on improving the lives of customers and employees.
Right, and everybody knows CX is customer experience. Some people see EX, they aren't sure, that's employee experience. You combine them together. And no doubt, an employee experience drives a customer experience. What's happening on the inside is felt on the outside by the customer. How about, let's go for one or two tips from the book. Because, and by the way, what I love about this, Jason, is that you not only are an executive doing it, you're in the trenches, but you're also this thought leader that's being brought in by major companies to talk about what you've done, and you wrote a book behind it. So just a couple of quick little tips from the book.
So not surprisingly, one of the things I talk about is measuring the experience you deliver. So asking customers just one question, don't overcomplicate it, just one question about their experience. And then importantly, democratizing that data. Don't hold it in a department. Make sure everybody is aware of what customers are thinking and saying, and then turn that insight into action. So insights of themselves is like a car without an engine, absolutely useless. You have to turn that insight into action. And that's where the 1% comes in. Every single day, read the comments from your customers and go, well, actually, I can tweak this process or this operational element by just 1% to improve that particular part of the business that's detracting our customers. And then the other thing that I talk,
customers will tell you.
Yeah, they'll tell you, but you've got to ask the question, and that's key. And as along with that, Shep, one of the things that I say is don't change the question every month. Now, you have to have one core question that it becomes your North Star or your guiding North Star, if you like. And then the second tip, and it's really three things in one, so I'm doing it to you again, but the second tip is really define what it means in your organization. So don't just say we're about great customer experience. Well, what does that mean? At an airline, great customer experience could be 97, 98, 99% of your flights take off on time and your baggage always arrives. It could mean something else, right? But you have to define what it is so people know what they're aiming to achieve.
Right, so there's got to be a very specific, tangible definition of it, a metric that allows you to know that you've hit it.
Absolutely.
That's what you're saying. Great. All right, we're down to just a minute or so left. And you know the question, you and I have done these interviews before. The one extra nugget that you want to share, and if I know you, you're going to give us 101% of a great answer, probably 150%. So what would that last nugget of information you want to share with this group be today?
So take away the excuses for your team not knowing what your North Star is. At Volkswagen, we created this. We call it the Volkswagen Pocket Card. And in this pocket card is everything that we expect a team member to deliver, whether it's to a customer or to an employee. Now, you might think that this small pocket card can't possibly hold everything, but it doesn't have to go into 250 steps. It has to articulate the key foundational elements of your North Star. Yep. And by making it part of the uniform, then you can create conversations. As a leader, you can walk up to your team members and say, do you have your pocket card on you? I just want to explore one of the core principles that we believe in here at our organization.
Right, and that little pocket card is simply a little laminated. It looks like it opens 4 different places.
Yeah, fourfold.
Fourfold, and you can get quite a bit of great information on there. And that's really what I call you said foundational. I think I would use the word the non-negotiables, the very clear and key elements. So, Jason, I wish we could spend hours together, and we'll have you back sometime. We'll do this summit again. We'll do more interviews. But I just want to thank you so much for being a part of this today. You're awesome. I love you like a brother. I know you're over there in Australia. I wish I could see you in person, and one day that's going to happen very, very soon. So thanks for being with us.
Thanks very much, Shep.
All right. How about a hand for Jason? Big hands, big hands, big hands. All right.
Indeed, a big
hand. All the way from the other side of the world. How do we do it? Technology is amazing. Do you know, actually, there have been Skype, Zoom, WebExes for years and years, but this is really amazing that we can pull this off and do this. And you know what? What's really amazing is that he's sleeping right now when he did the interview. That's what's really amazing. No, he may be awake right now. 4 o'clock. It's probably about 6 or so where he lives. So we've got a couple of minutes before we take a break. And then any questions? I see that. I wish I could pronounce her name, but it is in Arabic and actually written in it. But the employees are, and I know she meant to say first because she came back and said first, they're the first customer to your brand. If that's really such an important focus. Companies like Southwest Airlines, when Herb Kelleher was asked, what's most important, the customer, the shareholder, or the passenger? He thought about it for a moment. He said, well, the shareholders, they invested in us, but I'm going to go with the employees first, because if they do their job, the employees will take care of passengers who will then love us and want to fly on us again, and that's going to make our shareholders and stakeholders very, very happy. So anyway, just a thought. Thanks for sharing that. Any thoughts you have, Ramon, before we go into the break?
Yeah, Shep, so many. I mean, I've been taking notes like crazy. And I think really for me, we've heard the use the name, and I like how you pushed back to one of the guests, but I think that's important. And I think beyond the sale, oftentimes as business owners, whether big companies or smaller companies, Shep, we can think that, hey, I made the sale, one and done. But no, that's where you get referrals. That's where you get repeat buyers. I love how, again, the sex. I'm going to just recap that again. Customer employee experience, as our colleague had wrote there about, focus on the customers, and they will focus on the customers and the employees, and they both work hand in hand. So I think that the last part that I like that he said, take away excuses. I mean, anybody who's like, I can't do it, it's too much, I think they maybe shouldn't even be in your company. And Shep, I want to say, working with you and your team, Shep, you, Jesselyn, Claire, and the whole team, you guys live that. And so
I was going to thank the team. Let's do that right now. And by the way, the woman, her name is Rehab. It's spelled like Rehab. I think if we say with the right pronunciation, it's Rehab. So thank you very much. I should have known that, right? But Ramon, you have on your team, you've got Liz in the background. We've got Claire here. We've got Jesselyn. We've got Cindy. And I think they're doing an amazing job. And I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart. I know you feel the same way. And I want to thank you too, brother. It's been fun. And we've got a lot more to go. So what do you say we take, what time is it right now? It's 3:58 Central, 4:58 Eastern. It's 2 minutes to the hour. Yep. We're going to come back at 4 minutes past the hour. That's going to give you 5 or more minutes. You and I, Ramon, we're going to stay on. We're going to kick it a little bit. Anybody wants to throw in a question, drop the question in the chat, and we will answer those questions right when we get back. And Carmen is saying, take away the excuses. Yes, and there's no excuse for missing any of this. So take the bio break if you need it. Stick around if you just want to hear Ramon and I chat for a little while, and be back here at 4 minutes past the hour. Ready, set, go.
And Shep, what I want to know is how Carmen got these amazing glasses. I mean, I'm not, as you can tell, I'm kind of glasses challenged, Shep. I don't have the cool stuff, but I like that purple on her, her profile. Look at that. Shep got some glasses too. So I think, well, and Shep, from what I see from the teams, people are loving it. The engagement's high, Shep. People are sticking around. I think people appreciate it. It seems like this is very timely, regardless of COVID or not, Shep. But I think this message of customer experience is everything. So I think it's powerful.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi, Heidi. We see my friend Heidi.
Hey, Heidi.
Yeah, CEX is a great book. It's all about CEX. All you need to do is go to Amazon.com. You can buy that book. Look up Scotty Warner's book, WERNER, Warner. Whatever, many of our speakers have books. Who we have coming up. Let's see, who do we have coming up next?
And Shep, while you're looking at that, Shep, just keep looking at that. I just want to shout out a question from Craig, but continue, Shep, who says, are companies
Simon
doing
Bailey is coming up in just a few minutes. You don't want to miss Simon. He's got a lot of books on Amazon. That one, we're going to talk a little bit about, his whole concept of I don't want to give it away, but you're and then you can go buy the book. So somebody had a question. Yes.
Yes. So Craig asked, Shep, and I'd like to know what you think about this. Are companies doing enough during COVID? And I'm going to reword that. And thank you, Craig, for asking that. Can we give them slack and say it's okay because we know you're kind of discombobulated? Or Shep, would you say this is the time to even do more for customer experience? What say ye, Shep?
What say ye? Well, as it comes to customer experience, this is truly the opportunity. Many of the companies that make mistakes right now are shrinking marketing budgets, cutting people. And here's my point. A friend of mine has several hotels, and he went from almost like a 80+% occupancy rate, I think almost 90%, but I know he dropped below 20 right after COVID-19 hit and the pandemic and the shelter in place, et cetera, et cetera. And he basically started cutting staff right and left. And one of the areas he cut dramatically was housekeeping. Obviously, no rooms to clean. He doesn't need the housekeepers. And he cut, I felt, a little too far, because what would happen if one night he had a surge? What was going to happen? So here's what I told him, and I think it's a great metaphor for everything related to this. A guest stays at your hotel. A dirty room in good times or bad times is still a dirty room. They're never coming back. So that's number one. Number two, a lot of companies, as they shrink, they look for places, they shrink budgets, they look for places to cut, and they cut marketing, they cut support, they cut service. And you need to recognize that's the place to excel, because as they're dropping down, we're pushing forward and doing more, proving to our customers you shouldn't switch. Customers are very sensitive during these times. Their concerns become magnified. The intensity of your emotions can sometimes manifest itself, not just in fear, but in anger. And we need to be doing a better job at spending maybe a little bit more time with them, reaching out to them a little bit more often, and empathizing with them as needed. So here it comes. I'm going to pronounce this name for me. Ramon.
That's Stormwa. That's Stormwa.
Do you know her?
No. But I'm good at names. That's Stormwa. I love the name.
Summit is so important because, especially during this time, quality should not suffer. There should be an increased quality. There should be an increase in quality interaction. 100% right. That is so. That's Stormwa. I don't know. Is that your real name? I don't know if that's your full name. I love names. I'm fascinated by names. Matter of fact, I have the book on the definitions of names. So shepherd, my name, leader of the flock. I don't know if that's not even spelled the right way, but if that would be a good definition of it. I know Alan, my middle name, is defined as handsome and cheerful. But when I look at Ramon's full name, that's what I see as well. Handsome, cheerful, and outstanding guy. So, it's Jill Vernon.
One more minute. Go ahead.
Okay, her real name is Jill Vernon. So one day we'll hear the backstory on That's Stormwa. All right, so we got 1 minute before the break when people are going to come back, and then we're going to introduce our good friend, Simon T. Bailey. So,
and Shep, take
yes.
a stab at that one on there, Shep. I like it. I mean, for maybe that can be the last one, but I think, is there a differentiation from, well, first of all, Shep, may I try to give that answer? I'm not the CX guy, but just one thing, when I see that question, and thank you, LinkedIn user, for asking it, I think, Shep, that all of us must be a CX professional in some way, shape, or form. So I was going to say there should be someone in the company, but I think if you're doing it right, like the VW guy said, all of us should be. But Shep, what do you think?
So so you're asking me who everybody should be involved in customer service. So here's the service is not a department, it's a philosophy, and it's to be embraced by everybody, from the highest level person in the company to the most recently hired. They need to understand what their role is in supporting the customer or supporting the person who eventually might support a customer. That's your internal customer. And in addition to that, they should understand where and what they do, how it affects the process. Somebody in the warehouse who packs a box doesn't ever see a customer. But if they don't pack that box properly, guess what happens?
Big problem.
Damage, and they've impacted the customer experience. Before I get into our next speaker, I want to say it's not Jill Vernon. That's not her name. That Storm is Stacy Price. And it's like, that Storm what?
And so, Shep, let's give her lots of love. Quality Theory on at Quality Theory on Twitter. Quality Theory. So check out that Stormwa. Love it, love it, love it. Shep, we got to move on, man, to our next speaker.
Yes, and that is Simon T. Bailey. My interview with him is, well, it's amazing. That's why we call it the Customer Amazement Summit. He is a breakthrough strategist. He is a phenomenal keynote speaker. He is in the Hall of Fame for professional speaking. He and I had the wonderful opportunity to share the stage for a company that's somewhat recognized for customer service and experience, and that is Southwest Airlines. That was just last year. He's also an amazing author of a number of books. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Simon T. Bailey. Well, Simon, I'm so excited that you are on our show today. And I've been a friend of yours for a number of years. I admire you. Obviously, we love Disney because we're anchoring this summit with Disney people. You and our good friend Dennis Snow is coming up a little bit later on. But Simon, we're going to talk about your latest book, which is Be the Spark, 5 Platinum Service Principles for Creating Customers for Life. Phenomenal principles. But before we do that, a little bit of background on Simon that maybe I didn't talk about in the introduction. Anything special or really unique you want to share with us?
Yeah, people often ask me, why did I leave Disney? And the truth be told, whenever you work at Disney, Mickey Mouse rule number 1 is you never talk to the media. So I got a call from a journalist and he said, where do you see yourself 10 to 15 years from now? And I said, I see myself as the president and CEO of the Walt Disney World Resort and eventually the chairman and CEO of the Walt Disney Company, and he puts it in print. So the article comes out, page 12, Florida Business Trend magazine, and my boss calls me in the office, what were you thinking when you did this interview? And eventually HR showed up and I had to sign a little piece of paper that went into my personnel file. So let's just say, Shep, they didn't fire me that day, but about a year later, I heard the footsteps coming and they were not singing. It's a small world after all.
You made it a large world. And you know what? Think about what's happened. Now you're traveling the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wish it were more often, but you and I connected together on a program not that long ago for, I won't mention the name of the airline, but their initials are Southwest. That was a great day. Remember that?
It was an awesome day. Awesome day. We had so much fun with them.
Yeah, we did. All right, let's jump into it. Tell us about the Spark, because this isn't just about customers or guests, as you like to refer to them. It's also about employees.
Yeah, so what we realized after doing this work for almost 18 years, I said to Debbie Lynn, our instructional designer, what is it we know about organizations? And what we discovered is organizations that really knock it out of the park with customer experience. They hire men and women that have that spark in their eye, that spark in their belly, and they go for it. In other words, If they hear it, they own it. The company has transferred psychological ownership to that employee to say, guess what? I get to shape the experience for this guest.
Wow. And now that's one of the platinum principles is see them, customers, as guests. What if guest isn't really part of the culture? I think we're playing with words here, but how do we get a company to see their customers, members, clients, whatever, as a guest?
So it's
what's the importance of it?
So it's the mindset to say, how do we see them through the lens of a guest by exceeding their expectation even before they ask for it? And the reason it's important is because it's what differentiates the brand and causes that customer to yelp about the experience, because like, wait a minute, what just happened here? So it is as simple as Chick-fil-A saying, thank you, we're so glad you're here, my pleasure. Those are the little things that they can't get at other places.
Does this work for a B2B, business to business type company, not just B2C?
Absolutely. Because those companies, well, you look at some of the B2B players out there. I was just with SAP and did a whole customer experience for SAP. And what they're discovering is those B2B businesses that will ask the next question move from a transaction to a relationship. It's the deeper question as to why customers do business with you.
Yep. And I like the word that you eliminate the word transaction, moving it to relationship, which is why I've actually tried to refer to transactions in a relationship are really simply interactions on the way to the next interaction.
Totally.
All right. So platinum rule number 2, personalize the experience.
So personalizing the experience, I have to tell a quick story. When we were getting ready to go to print with the book, Be the Spark, Melissa, our director of business operations, said her girlfriend had just received her monthly subscription of dog food from Chewy.com, and her dog had passed away. So she calls the 800 number of Chewy, right? And gets a person, Shep, on the line and says, hey, I need to cancel my subscription. The person says, we understand. Sorry for your loss. We will refund your money and you're in our thoughts. Well, she thought that was the end of the transaction.
All right, so let me make sure I understand. She received the dog food.
Received it.
They didn't ask for her to send it back.
No.
But
they refunded.
Hey, stop this subscription. Don't pay for it. Refunding the past month that the dog wasn't. Wow. So that's pretty good. But like they say, there's more. Don't go away.
There's more. The doorbell rings the next day, and there's a guy outside the door with a sympathy card from Chewy.com and flowers. So think for a moment, because they personalized the experience right then in the moment, the next time she has a pet, who is she going back to?
I can't imagine anyone else. Yeah. And by the way, who did she tell the story to? Friends, family, and the one guy that's going to tell the rest of the world, Simon T. Bailey.
And it just keeps going and going and going and going.
Right. So and now this
personalize
audience today gets to hear that story.
Totally.
All right, number 3, which is anticipate and uncover needs.
So anticipating all comes down to the quality of your questions determines the quality of the feedback that you get from customers. So I had an opportunity to be interviewed at Ritz-Carlton. I turned down the job, didn't really understand Ritz-Carlton back then, but I did have an opportunity to do some programs on behalf of the Ritz-Carlton Learning Institute. What's interesting about Ritz-Carlton is the moment you pull up on the drive and you hit the front desk to check in, they already know your name. They are anticipating that you're coming. How did they do that? Because it's the little things and asking the question that makes the biggest difference. So I think every business has to begin to say, what's the questions that we're asking to get the best answers?
Wow, I love that. So you turned down the opportunity to work with the Ritz-Carlton. Looking back, was that, well, at the time, would you say, boy, I should have taken that? I mean, obviously, look where you are today. But back then, you say, darn, I wish I would have had that experience, because a Disney experience and a Ritz-Carlton experience, that's like a 1-2 combination. I mean, you'd be like the speaker expert resource that nobody else can mess with.
You know what? I do look back, but I ended up running into the guy who interviewed me. He just retired from the Ritz-Carlton Naples, a guy named Ed Starles. And we laugh about it. He says, I still can't believe you turned down the job. And I sent him a copy of Be the Spark where I tell the story. And I said, I think everything turned out okay for me.
I would say so. I would say so. I think if there's, I mean, I've had the chance to talk with Horst Schultz, the president and founder, co-founder of the Ritz, and the whole philosophy of the Ritz. It's amazing. And when you combine that with the Disney, like I say, that's a 1-2 combination. And I know that this whole summit that we've got Scotty Warner, who, by the way, is also from your hometown area, where you're living now. You're living in Orlando, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Do you know Scotty?
I don't know Scotty.
You gotta get to know Scotty. I mean, and his topic is, what did he learn from 250,000 customer support calls?
Wow.
There's a lot you can learn when you're on the line like that. All right, let's look at number 4, which is to respond with immediate and appropriate service.
So here's the big idea. If you hear it, you own it. A few years ago, I was in Los Angeles traveling back with my 2 young adult children from Los Angeles to Orlando. And you know this, Shep, when you get upgraded to first class because you're a frequent flyer, it is a happy day. So my daughter and I get upgraded. My son is sitting back in coach. So all of a sudden, the boarding door is about to close, and the gate agent comes over and says, Mr. Bailey, I'm sorry, we have to move you and your daughter back to coach. And my daughter, who's sitting somewhere else, gets up and looks at me like, Dad, really, you are such a loser. How are we going back to first class or back to coach for this 5-hour flight? So now we're going back, and Daniel, my brother, or my son, her brother, is saying, come on back to nosebleed. And I'm sitting there totally mortified. And Justin, the Delta agent, comes over to me and said, Mr. Bailey, I didn't close out the account, and we had 2 people walk up and buy 2 first-class full fare tickets, and I had to honor them. And because you had a free upgrade, that's why we moved you and your daughter. And you know what? I said, Justin, thank you so much for owning it. Well, literally on the plane, I start writing a blog entitled, What Losing My First Class Seat Taught Me About Delta. Total positive articles, got over 100,000 views on LinkedIn because he responded immediately, he owned it, and he didn't pass the blame. And he said, when you land in Orlando, you will be met by an agent who's going to also apologize and ask you, what can you do? That's being uber responsive when something negative happens.
Well, and I must say that having to sit between your son and your daughter back in coach is a lot better than sitting in between 2 very large guys named Bubba. Okay. So at least that was a nice treat. You got to sit with your kids, but I get it. You know, these are such first world problems, getting upgraded, not getting upgraded. And as people like you and I, we travel all over the world. So we are sensitive to the need of a larger seat, a larger workspace, because that's our moving office. We're working. All right. The 5th and final platinum rule, if you will, which is keep them loyal through acts of kindness. And I think you've kind of tipped on this a little bit, tiptoed around it with all the other 4, but let's go with number 5, because I think it kind of brings it all together in a nice, neat bow.
Yeah, so big idea, kindness is the bottom line. I was working with a supermarket chain not too long ago, and what they discovered in their customer satisfaction scores is from a 0 to 5, when they received a 4, that means the shopping experience was fine, the customer thought the place was clean, they found the groceries that they needed. But when they ranked it a 5, it was because of an associate who had engaged the customer during their shopping experience. And that ability to engage the customer, not just pointing, but say, let me take you to the specific aisle for the item you want, and then engaging them along the way about their shopping experience. That act of kindness is what differentiates other brands from just brand X. So what can businesses do to ensure that their associates and team members and employees understand it's not the mechanical rote, want, but how do we go the extra inch and think about being kind to every customer?
And I think the important thing is the extra inch, not
Yes.
the extra mile.
Yes.
The extra mile could be daunting. It's the little something extra above what they were expecting. And in this case, you're preaching a little bit of engagement.
Yes.
That, you know, and I love it. All right, we're getting down to the end. My favorite question to ask is, what's the one last point you want to make that you absolutely want all of us to remember based on this interview?
Customer service is not a department. Customer service is a mindset.
Oh,
And
amen.
when you have the mindset, you will find the skill set and the will set. But if you don't have the mindset, then it's just a boring department.
I love it. I want to, there's something that you had in the description of your book. And I just want to read this because we have a moment, because
Sure.
it ties into exactly what you're saying. Where there is no spark, there is no joy. Where there is no joy, there is no hope. Where there is no hope, there is no passion. Without passion, a job is just a job. The customer service department is just a department. It's not a philosophy. It's not the culture. It's not what the company is about. So I love this. The 5 platinum rules. So obviously we can get the book anywhere, but especially Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is a great book. It really is. And I appreciate you being here with us. Thanks for joining us on the summit. All I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, and by the way, you and I, we met through the National Speakers Association. I'll never forget the first time I saw you do your speech. And just today, as I look at you, and I actually can sense and feel the energy radiating from you through the camera, if you will. I feel it. I felt that on stage, man. We are talking to the real deal, the authentic Simon T. Bailey. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, Simon. Wow. That's why we love Simon.
Absolutely, Shep. Listen, this session was off the chain, Shep. I learned so much. And I think what I'm hearing, Shep, is a repetition. Hey, Lisa Nelson, amazing artist, by the way, Lisa Nelson. The thing I'm hearing here, Shep, over and over again is this is important work, but it's not hard. It takes some thought. And as you started out with, Shep, and Simon's kind of underlined it, it's just doing a bit more. It's just being thoughtful. It's kind of common sense things our mamas taught us about.
We've heard
That's what I'm hearing,
several
Shep.
people, including myself, customer service is not a department, it's a philosophy. It's a mindset. We heard from Jason, 1%. And Simon saying, you know, what's the difference between a 4 and a 5? And he said 4 is like average, fine, okay, et cetera. And then we had the 5, or no, what he said was you want to get a 5, just a little engagement, an employee engaged with the customer. And that's really all it took. Obviously, a friendly engagement, a smile per se. But that's the point. This isn't rocket science. Although I love having a rocket scientist, and I'm a friend with one who actually is a rocket scientist, decided to become a customer service expert. But anyway, that's another story. Gosh. Let's just real quick tell people what's going to happen. In a moment, you've asked me to share the 6 convenience principles. So it's 6 ideas in 6 minutes. Boom, 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 rapid fire. Get ready to write. Okay. After that, we've got Laurie Guest, who's going to be an amazing interview. After Laurie, we have Becky Plugger. Becky is, boy, talk about in the trenches. She was with USAA. Now she's with Hilton. She runs the guest relations and support, I mean, worldwide. She's got some stories. She's got some insights. And then we're going to take another break. So just shortly, probably just past the top of the hour, we'll take another break. And hey, what do you say we get rocking and rolling? You're going to time me on this one again, right?
Shep, are you ready? I'm going to time you, man. Here we go. I'm going to reset my timer, Shep. This is live, ladies and gentlemen. We are doing it. Shep, are you ready? You ready to go?
I'm ready. 6 minutes. That's it. That's all I've
3,
got.
2, here we go.
Boom. 6 minutes and 6 ideas in 6 minutes. All right. So the idea behind convenience, and earlier James said, hey, one of the best stories about convenience was the idea of the difference between the mini bar in your hotel room and that soda machine that's just down the hall, maybe 20 feet outside of the hall. And here's what happens. You choose to stay in your hotel room and still pay almost 3 or 4 times more for a can of soda or a drink than you would if you went down the hall, went to the bar. Why? Because it's more convenient. So here are 6 drivers of convenience. Number 1, reducing friction. James talked about that. And that's about being easier to do business with. Think about this. I used to, when I lived in the suburbs, have to take a cab. I'd pick up the phone and call a cab. Uber and Lyft, they eliminated that. There's an app on the phone. Open up the app, punch the button. I see how many drivers around. I know how far they're going to be. I just say I want one of those drivers. I type in a few letters and it auto-populates where I'm going, usually the airport. And guess what? They've eliminated the friction. I don't even have to pay for the drive. When I get out, it's automatically done. I don't have to reach in my pocket. It's reducing friction. Number 2 is a self-service solution, which means we give control to the customer. A website that has a store, for example, Amazon, that's totally a self-service shopping experience. But what about customer support? The ability to come up with ways for the customer to get their answers. Perhaps it's a frequently asked question page on the website, or maybe there's video tutorials, not just on the website, but maybe even on YouTube. I love when I did business with a company and they said, if you have a question, go to Google and type in, how do I do blank on this software? And guess what happens? Videos pop up from YouTube. It's wonderful. Self-service creates self-service solutions in the sales process as well as service. Number 3 is to use technology. Now, Uber uses technology, and the self-service might be technology, or it might be good old-fashioned frequently asked questions. But what I mean by technology is, what can you put in place to create a better experience? And think about the doctor that creates a website that has a patient portal where you can go in and you can actually log in and see the calendar and choose the appointment you want. Same thing with a car dealership. When I was over in Australia working with Jason, we had, I don't know, about 100 or some odd car dealership managers there. And we talked about all the ways to be convenient. And the idea for a customer to set up their own appointments without having to call, be on hold and just do it themselves really is a great service to the customer as well as the company. Number 4 is the subscription model. Now, subscription is about convenience, and it's way beyond newspapers and magazines showing up daily or monthly or whatever. The subscription idea, and if you think about software that you're buying today, if you use Microsoft Outlook, there's a pretty good chance you've bought a subscription to it. Well, now you can subscribe to just about anything. Simon talked about Chewy.com. You can subscribe to dog food. You can subscribe to a car. Some manufacturers are testing the ability to subscribe to a car, not rent a car, not lease a car, but just own it for a short period of time. You subscribe to that car. So subscription. By the way, before I jump to number 5, the idea behind subscription, even if you don't have a true subscription model, is renewal. Make sure that what you do is good enough and the customer enjoys the experience enough to want to renew the relationship with you the next time they need whatever it is that you sell. So it may not be an official subscription, but it's definitely a renewal. Number 5 is delivery, and that is taking it to the customer. Let's go back to the car dealership concept. My lead case study for the book, The Convenience Revolution, had to do with my auto dealership, which after 25 years of doing business with a particular dealership, almost 25 years, I switched to this other one. When I originally went to look at the car, I just happened to be in the area, saw the car in the lot, and I wanted to go look at it. And I told the salesperson, you're too far away. I'm not going to buy the car from here. I don't want to have to drive so far to get my oil changed and have to sit there, and it turns into a half-a-day deal. And he said, you don't really see much of a waiting room around here because, you know what, we don't really have a waiting room. It's small. Some people sit around and wait. We've got a TV, a coffee machine. But when you buy a car from us, we bring you a car. You just make an appointment. We'll bring you a car. We'll pick up yours, and we'll bring your car back when it's done. The only time you ever come in here again, and you don't even have to come in here to make the deal. We'll bring the car and make the deal at your home, but you can come in here and look at new cars. Well, wow, that's delivery. Take it to the customer. And finally, number 6 is access. And that is several types of access. There's geographical access, and where you're close to the customer. Think about how I read a stat that says 90% of the United States citizens live within 10 minutes of a Walmart. Well, that's geographically accessible. If you walk down a major city in the middle of downtown, you'll probably find a Starbucks every block or two. That's accessibility. But another form of accessibility might be hours of operation. Are you available when your customers need you? Do you close too early? What about your customer support? Are they available to the customer at the appropriate hours? Is it 24/7? If that's when the customer's reaching out to you, are you available for them? So access or accessibility. Those are the 6 convenience principles. And as I look at the clock, I'm at 5:04. I got 2 seconds. So those are them, the 6 principles in 6 minutes. Woo, I did it.
Shep Hyken, ladies and gentlemen, has done it again. And I can see, Shep, why you're an in-demand global keynote speaker, best-selling author, amazing consultant to companies around the world. And Shep, guess what? This means that people get to ask Shep Hyken any question they want to get unstuck. I think, Shep, we got a few minutes to do this.
A few minutes before we get to Laurie, and let's open it up for questions. And by the way, if you want to ask questions about anything you might have heard from the other speakers, let me know, and I will reach out to them. I'll get you the answers, or we'll try to answer them right here. So here is a great question. Do you agree with the statement, the customer is always right? So Ramon, before I give the answer, what do you think?
I don't think so. I think that I think it's good to say it. It sounds cool. It sounds good for the customers to hear it and think they're in charge. You know what, Shep? I think it's good to let the customers think they're always right. But I think, as I know, I know, because I've learned a lot from you, Shep. I think, as we've talked before, you support your team, you support your employees. Not that they're always right, but you shine the light on them, and they will treat your customers right. So no, the customer's not always right.
So that's not the answer I would have given, but it's still a correct answer. I love that. Like, if I were a school teacher, I'd still have to give you a good grade for that one, even though that wasn't what was in the book, because it is correct. And that's true. You've got, here's when the customer is wrong and belligerent and not nice to one of your people, you have to step up and support your people. So I remember there was a client that called us that was so rude to my assistant. She was so rude. My assistant was almost in tears. And I said, mark her as a level 4 in our database. And she goes, what's that? So level 1 is clients that we know are interested in booking me for a speech. They have the budget. They've given me the date. Level 2 are, they're probably good. They hire people like me. They've shown interest, but they're not quite ready to put me on hold. Level 3, they like to get information. And she goes, but you just added level 4. I said, don't ever talk to her again. That's level 4. So, no, you've got to support them. The customer is not always right, but they are always the customer. And Stephen, at Disney, we said, which means that you must have been a Disney guy. And that's, of course, what Simon T. Bailey and what Dennis Snow would agree with. They may not always be right, but you let them be wrong with dignity and respect. So they can be wrong. And oftentimes you don't have to say you're wrong. You can say, well, let me tell you what's happening here and why we do it the way we do. And, every once in a while, a customer can be wrong. So here's another question. How can I hire right and prevent employee turnover? Oh, you know what? Maybe we should have another summit called the Hire Right and Avoid Turnover Summit.
Hold on one second, Chet. Let me go to GoDaddy and buy the domain right now. Hold on one second.
That's a long one, but hey, anyway, here's the point about that. Hiring the right people is so difficult to get the right person, but you have to understand your culture first. You have to understand what your vision is. And, we're going to talk about in a little while, I'm going to give you another 6 ideas in 6 minutes, and it's going to be about creating that customer-focused culture. But when you understand what your vision is, then you can start hiring people to that vision. You take the rock stars that work in your company, and you do some behavioral style assessments to understand what it is, the common traits that these people have. Then I'd also take it to people that you probably weren't happy with, and maybe they've gone, but hopefully in the process of hiring them, you did some behavioral style assessments. And then we're talking about inexpensive instruments like DISC, not Myers-Briggs, that's too robust, but DISC and Well, there's a number of them out there. I like the platinum rule. So anyway, this isn't a push for assessments, but the point is when you look at the common traits of the people that didn't quite make it, and you look at the traits of the people who did make it, you can put people through at least that filter and start to see, like, maybe they fit in here. Maybe it's a good fit. But you hire partially for skill. You hire, and obviously, if you're hiring nurses, they must be licensed and properly trained, or, mechanics need to have some background. So you may have to hire for some skills, but you also have to look at, are they a cultural fit as well? I had a client, they're a medical system, and there was a nursing shortage. And whenever they had a good nurse show up, they wouldn't hire the nurse, even though they needed the nurse, if the nurse didn't fit into their culture. And as a result, they actually shut down a portion of their hospital because they realized it would be detrimental to their reputation to hire the wrong people. So that's pretty darn powerful. So that's the first thing, hire the right people. I think the second part of it was turnover. And you want to address, I know you're a small business guy, but you are also an expert when it comes to people. You want to take that part of it for a moment?
Sure. I have some questions for you too, Shep. I know we only got about 3 minutes or so to go, but I have some questions for you as well, Shep, and other people do. But I think employee turnover, listen, I think the best way to prevent employee turnover is to have deep communication with your team. I think those who are not in communication with the team, you're going to find that you're going to always wondering, why do they leave? I think two, are you providing employees what they really, really want? Shep, oftentimes people think it's just about the money. I used to work at the United Nations until I got fired, and I can remember very clearly, Shep, my boss at the time putting his hand on my shoulder. I can feel his touch in a good way today. It just made the world to me. So my point is, I think that employee turnover often doesn't happen for things you don't know. And three, one thing I'll say is that, are you in a good way, Shep, and you can say this maybe better than I can, checking up on the reports that are reporting to your leaders? For example, I've hired Shep to manage 5 people. I need to have some mechanism that they can give feedback to me or somebody else if Shep is doing a bad job, because often people feel trapped, Shep. People feel, I don't know where to go. I'm scared that if Shep would never do it, but Shep is doing something bad to me. I don't know what recourse I have. But if you can have that valve, you'll find you have a great company.
Yeah, you've got to be able to have that open door policy if you can with the right people. Jill Raff says you can teach skills, but not attitude. Absolutely, Jill. I believe Jill's in San Antonio. There was another comment. If we can go slide back just a little bit, because I want to see, there was a comment I saw from, there it is, level 4, Lisa Nelson, your friend, Lisa, level 4s. Okay, that's what I laughed and smiled at that. They go into the recycle bin. Matter of fact, why are they still in my database even as a level 4? Just get rid of them. So, all right, we have time for one more question before we get into our next speaker, which is Laurie Guest.
And Shep, before you answer that question, get ready. Can I just do some housekeeping for 10 seconds, please?
Sure, yes.
I just want to remind people, listen, go to customeramazementsummit.com, customeramazementsummit.com. If you haven't registered yet and you'd like to register and get the recordings of this, we're going to be giving it away for free, not charging you. All you have to do is register to those who've already paid for it. Thank you. We appreciate you so much. We're going to be giving you back what you may have paid for. So don't worry about that if you've paid.
We're going to refund it. Yep.
That's right, refund it. Point 3.
Amazementsummit.com. By the way, there's really, I don't know any other way to do it. If we're doing 3.5 hours today, and we've got these nice bite-sized chunks in the form of interviews with all these amazing thought leaders. The only way to get this information is to hear it again and again and again. And we're giving it to you, no strings attached. I promise you. Right?
We've cut the string. Shep was like 0 strings. And I just want to give a shout out, Shep, as well, if I may, and then please answer that question. Hyken.com. Those who may not, some people here, Shep may be here and not know the Shep Hyken brand. So Hyken.com, I'm RamonRay.com. So I just want to give that for those who may want to reach out to us later. Shep, what's the answer to that question?
What is the question?
Yes, we'll bring it back up. I know our team is keeping up with my jabber here. So
there you go. How do you feel about customer loyalty programs? Do they really work, or is there a better way? All right, let's talk about customer loyalty programs. Do not confuse a card where you punch every time somebody comes in and the 10th one is free as a customer loyalty program. That is a marketing program. And by the way, I'm totally fine with that. Just don't confuse them. You've got what I would call repeat business program versus true loyalty in the program. Companies like the airlines, industries like the airlines or hotels that give you points or miles. And then they start giving you perks. Those are incentives to stay flying with them. But my question would be, if they took all of those away, in other words, and by the way, I recognize if one airline took them away, you might say, well, I want those perks, I'll go fly another airline because of the perks. But if all the perks were eliminated from all the airlines, would you still want to fly in that airline? Would you still want to stay in that hotel if they didn't give points and nobody gave points? That's what defines loyalty, and it's usually done through a connection of some kind. So with that in mind, I think that answers the question. We've got, it's time for our next speaker.
It's time, Shep. It's time. I'm so excited. Laurie Guest is going to rock the chain. Shep Hyken, tell us all about her.
And wait till you see, Laura, I actually brought her book to the interview because I wanted everybody to see how cool this book is. Laurie Guest is my friend for years. She's a customer service expert. She is an amazing keynote speaker. She is so freaky smart when it comes to customer service and mystery shopping. And I love her name, Guest. What better name for somebody in the business of taking care of customers and guests? Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk to Laurie Guest. Laurie, so excited because you are one of my favorites. First of all, I love your name, Laurie Guest. So what better person to talk about customer and guest service than the person whose last name they named it after?
Exactly. I always joke, you know how long it took me to find a man that I loved with the last name of what I want to do? It's tough.
And you know what? And I'm a guy. I'm just stuck with my name. I mean, my last name, Hyken. Hey, we're going to go hiking up a mountain. We're going to go hitch hiking. So you can imagine. All right. Hey, I've got to hold up your book. It's called The 10-Cent Decision. And what's really cool is that I do have to make a decision. And that decision is, which side do I want to start with? This 10-cent decision or this 10-cent decision? So let's start there and let's make a decision to talk about this book for just a moment. And then let's just dive right into it. Tell us about this great book. I know about it. I've read it, but I want the whole world to know about it.
Well, it makes me happy to see it in your hands. So when one customer service checks out another customer service expert, that's great. Well, I'll tell you what, the reason I'm excited about the book is if you're a team member, you read it from the front cover to the middle. And if you're a leader, you read it from the back cover to the middle. There's no duplication of content because I believe in an integrated approach to customer service. So I want everybody to read the whole book. But here's what's important, and Shep, being a prolific writer, you know this. When we go to write a book, we put an avatar out in our mind. Who are we writing for, right? To get really focused on who's going to read this and how can I word it in a way that resonates with that person. And I realized while I was writing it, the first draft, I kept going, whether you're a team member or a leader, whether you're a manager or a front line, I kept saying the ors, and then I realized I'm not getting clear on who I'm really talking to. So once I split it in half and made sure that my content was directed to exactly who has control over those particular customer service behaviors, the book just fell into place. So that's how it ended up a flip book. Yep.
Either way you go, you're going to get it right. So you've got the 10-cent decision for leaders, and you've got the 10-cent decision for team members. So what a great concept. And it's two books in one. How do we do it? Volume. So what's your favorite nugget of the book? Let's start there. Let's pull something out.
Well, my favorite nugget is actually the point of the entire book, 10-cent decision, how small change pays off big. Here's the deal. I'm walking down the street one day with my then 23-year-old son, and there was a dime laying on the sidewalk, and he stepped right over it. I knew he saw it. I saw it. And he just kept on going. And I said, Evan, did you see that dime? He's like, yeah. I go, why didn't you pick it up? And he goes, not worth it. Okay.
Wow.
Not worth it to bend over and pick up a dime. I said,
pick up any amount of money off the ground.
Yeah. How much money
if it's a penny, especially if it's heads up, grab it, hold it, don't let it go.
That's right. How much money does have to be laying on the sidewalk for you to think it worth it? And he said, $1, Shep. He needed a greenback on the ground to make it worth it. And that's when I realized, if people see a dime as not value, but you stack a few together, what's it become? $1. And when you stack a few of those, it becomes $10 and so on until we have a chunk of change that has value. I think customer service ideas are the same way. If the only thing your team is doing is greeting a customer when they walk in, that's a thin dime. That's one thing that has value, but not a lot if you aren't going to take the time and stack a bunch of customer service ideas on top of one another. Low cost, no cost ideas that when stacked brings really great value to your guest. That's the point of the book.
Yeah, I love that. And in my head, I have this image of every night I pull the change out of my pocket and I throw it into into a big baseball hat, oversized baseball hat. And at the end of like 6-8 months, this thing's filled with change. And I go, wow. And what's it worth? I was blown away by how much change and what it was worth. And I think that's a good metaphor for that.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's really my point, is that the book is filled with these single ideas that you might read them by yourself and go, okay, well, that's an idea, but you start stacking them. Now we're getting some traction.
So here's a great one. And I'm writing about this in a blog, and it's going to go into my next book. And the article is titled Be Nice. And the story is about this guy who was an usher at church, an older man. And he said to this little girl, watch this. And he walked up to the woman walking in church. He says, you are a pillar of our church. Thank you for coming. Let me find a great seat for you. And she was beaming with pride. He sits down next to her and he says, you see that? I made her day. And this is his exact words. And it didn't cost me a dime.
That's right.
Wow. That's what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And what I think is a shame, and we could talk all day about this, why do we have to teach people to be nice? Why are we having to do that? But now more than ever, I think that disruption is the perfect time to reset our service levels. Yep. Now is the time to go back to being the very nicest team you can possibly be to help everybody who's trying to do business with you, rather than short, sweet, to the point. Why don't we go back to being nice? Great concept.
So what are some other 10-cent decisions that just really don't cost much, or if anything at all, that we can add to the experience and service that we provide our customers?
Well, certainly I believe in power positioning. And what I mean by that is when someone reaches out to engage with your organization, you may have a robotic way that you end your phone calls or your engagements with the customer that really aren't well thought through. But if we can use better words to position the experience better, then the anticipation goes up. So I'll give you a quick example. I'm a big fan of the spa. Going to, when I travel, going to the nicest spa I can find, that's my own little treat. And I don't know if you've ever been spaing, Shep, but when you open the brochure and they describe the services, they have things like deep tissue massage and mud baths and wrapped in seaweed. Okay, I don't think any of those sound like a fantastic experience. And I really don't want to pay $400 to be wrapped in seaweed and dipped in mud, right?
Have you ever done it?
Why they word it that way. So I was working with an entrepreneur one time and I said to her, what's something that you really love that resonates with you? And she thought about it and she said, moons and stars. My entire spa is filled with moons and stars. I said, why don't we package these three things together and we'll call it the celestial moment and we'll charge $500 instead. See, when you call things something that makes it desirable, would you rather have a celestial moment or would you rather be dipped in mud? Your choice.
Yeah. Wow. Dipping in mud gives me this celestial moment. Just word it in such a way that makes me feel good about it. So that's great. It's the words. And that's one of the things you're known for, is using the right words at the right time to get the desired results. So let's riff on that a little bit.
Okay. Well, I didn't even know that was my superpower. You know, we all have a superpower. Every single person listening to this has something that they do really well, but because it comes easy to them, they may not realize it's a big deal compared to their competitors. And all of a sudden I started paying attention. What were people asking me for? And they'd say things like, Laurie, what do you think is the best way for me to say this? Whether it was an awkward conversation or a way to position a product like I just shared. And that's when I realized, wow, there is power in the words. So one of my favorite things to teach is the whole concept of stuff your sorries in a sack. Quit apologizing all the time.
In a sack? Is that what you just said?
Say that again.
Stuff your sorries in a sack?
Yeah. The old George Costanza and Seinfeld, stuff your sorries in a sack. You know,
okay.
It's an old phrase from the Odd Couple show many, many years ago, but had a resurgence during the Seinfeld era. I'm probably dating myself, but still, in customer service, there's a lot of people who teach apologize, step up and say you're sorry. Now, I agree with that in two situations. All right. One, when we owe the customer an apology. When we've messed up, we got to lean in, we got to own it, validate their feelings. Great. Own the I'm sorry. I'm good with that. The second time it is correct to use it is a true show of empathy. Cindy, I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm sorry you had to experience this. And if it's said from a heart-centered place, I'm good with that. But all the rest of the sorries, the unnecessary ones, can be replaced with other words. So another brief example, there's a brand new, really cool pizza place in our community. They bought out an old school and then they collected a whole bunch of really cool, like Simpson train and a big boy. You remember the big boy with the burger on his hand?
I love the big boy.
Yeah, they filled the place with this. So now they become a novelty, a place to go to that's different than just your regular pizza place. All right, so we go check them out. We give them about 2 weeks to iron out the kinks. We show up. I wish I would have had a clicker for the number of times I heard, I'm sorry. People would come in to pick up their pizza, and if it wasn't ready exactly when they showed up, the person at the front, the desk at the register kept saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Every pizza came with a sorry. And when we got our pizzas, my kid ordered one that was supposed to be double dough, and it didn't look any different than the rest of the small pizzas on the table. So I called the server over and I said, I just want to make sure, since it's our first time here, is this one actually a double dough pizza? And she goes, I'm sorry. Okay, now think about this for a second. That response doesn't even match my question. I said, well, you don't need to be sorry.
The answer is yes or no.
Yes or no.
And the person responded with, I'm sorry. Which, by the way, you can say, I'm sorry. You know what? You're right. That is not a double dough. I'm sorry. Let me go get you another one. Then it would be okay.
Or it could be okay, but I don't think an apology is owed in this. She could say, actually, you might be right. Let me go check on that and we'll make it right. Hear how different,
Get it? Yeah,
that's a totally different conversation. So here's my question. I'm trying to decide, Shep, and I'll ask you what you think. Nobody asked my opinion, but I really want to send a copy of the book and an explanation letter to the new owner, wishing them well and saying, if you will just change this one thing, the perception of the people coming to your pizza place is not that you owe them an apology, but that it was fantastic pizza in a great environment. And I can't decide if the owner will think that I'm overstepping my bounds, but the customer service expert in me just wants them to do well. And if they would stuff their sorries in a sack, they would be miles ahead. You go look at the reviews right now online, and that's what people are saying. Takes too long to get your pizza. Orders aren't coming out right. It's just a slew of criticism for them, and they need to turn that around with their words.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. You know, I do believe the acknowledgement always should come first. Some people feel an apology should come first. And sometimes the apology isn't so much about what you did. It's just, I'm sorry you're feeling this way. I mean, that's okay. But I'm now going to be more conscious of how I use the term, I'm sorry. Even if I am sorry, I've got to be careful because it sets the setup could turn something negative into probably maybe even more negative, as opposed to using the right words to flip it around and be positive.
And another place I want people to think about the sorry, not just in the example I gave, what about your outbound voicemail message? I'm sorry, I'm not here to take your call. Really?
Yep.
Are you sorry? Or could you turn that into a commercial? Callers will tolerate about a 15, 20-second little tiny outbound commercial. I don't apologize for not being here. If I have a call coming in right now, my message says something totally different that positions me as out busy and helping my customers attract and keep more clients.
Yeah, Laurie, you should never be sorry for not being available to take that incoming call that wasn't planned because you're out helping other clients, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. So why are we apologizing? What about your outbound email? You have emails coming in right now, Shep, while we're working, and we're doing good work. So should you sit down and say to somebody, hey, Bob, sorry I wasn't available to respond quickly enough, or something like that? No, you can write back and say, hey, Bob, great news. I'm in the office after 2 o'clock today.
This is excellent. So the big takeaway from our conversation is obviously the 10-cent decision. That's big. The right use of the term, I'm sorry. Put your sorries in a sack. Great takeaway. I want one more. One final question I want to ask you. If there's one extra nugget of information that you want to share with us, it could be straight out of your book or it could be something unrelated. This is what our audience needs to hear. Laurie, what is it?
Air of familiarity. Everybody can do it and they skip over it. Think about the favorite restaurant you go to all the time. And the second you walk in, the server's like, hey, Shep, you want your usual? And they fry it up for you. You feel connected to that place, and you will pick that restaurant over many others time and time again, because we want to be norm. We want to be the guy who
Where
walks
everybody
in.
knows your name.
Everybody knows your name. So even if I don't know you and you're walking in my place for the first time, I can look up and say, well, good afternoon. Welcome to the guest house. It's an air of familiarity, and anyone can do it. And you know how much it costs? Less than a dime.
Nothing, actually. And I love that. Anything less than a dime, small change or no change at all. Love it. So, Laurie, you are a rock star in the customer service and experience world. So much appreciating you joining us for the summit. Look forward to learning lots more about you. You need to buy the book, The 10-Cent Decision, Small Change that pays off big. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're coming right back with more. Don't go away. Hey, and we are back that quick. Ramon, Laurie guest, Rockstar, James Dodkins.
I'm sorry,
Rockstar.
Yeah, she was amazing, Shep. But I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Shep. That I apologize, Shep. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Let's put our sorries in a sack. What do you think?
Why don't we do that? No, Laurie guest was absolutely off the chain, amazing. I know we got a few more to go, Shep. We got Becky Ploger coming up. We got an intermission. We got some more tips from you, Shep. We got Rupesh Patel coming up. We got Don Gigas coming up. Then Shep again. You can ask Shep Hyken more questions. We close out with Dennis Snow. Shep, listen, it's a great day.
We're going to keep going.
What's next?
We've got just a couple of minutes. I want to go back on the comments. Jill Raff had a comment about a superpower, and I love this superpower. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is. Our superpower equals our unconscious competence. So many times we don't know what we're capable of. And in this crazy pandemic world we're in, I was just asked to provide a quote for somebody related to what are we going to learn out of the pandemic and what's going to happen to customer experience. I think one of the things we learned is just how capable we really are when we have to be. It wasn't like, the East Coast shut down for a hurricane. And by the way, that's sad. No, the whole crazy world shut down and companies had to pivot. Customer support departments. I was talking to a client that has 62 customer support centers around the world with 60,000 employees. And within 1 week, he mobilized every one of them to home, even in the places that had virtually no internet. So if you can imagine how that worked. So crazy, 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 crazy. Ramon, any thoughts, any questions? Let's see. I see lots of great ideas and comments coming from us. But everybody, remember to ask your questions because my assistant Claire will compile those questions, and we get to the Q&A section. You won't have to ask them again. We'll ask them for you. So with that in mind, we're going to start with Becky here in just a moment. We're going to have a break right after that. Don't go away because we'll make a couple announcements right before that. And also, Ramon, one of the things, if you register, there's a chance that you'll win something, right? But don't tell them yet. Let's tell them after Becky and before the break.
Okay.
Sound fair?
It sounds fair. But Shep, listen, this has been good. I know we got introduced, but stay here. We got several minutes to go. I'm just having a great time. And I think, Shep, I just wanted to say the underlining theme, like Laurie just said, it also, not only is it not hard to do simple things, but it doesn't have to be expensive. Shep,
it doesn't. It can be little. By the way, how much does it cost to smile? How much does it cost to open the door for a person? How much does it cost if you work at a retail store after you bag up the product to walk around the counter and maybe walk that customer I almost walked off camera. That would not be good. How much does that cost? Yes. It really costs not even a dime, and it makes great impact. Remember, I believe Simon said that it was the engagement of an employee to the customer that raises the rating from a 4 to a 5.
That's right.
All right. You ready for Becky?
Let's do it, man.
I'm ready for Becky. She's a global head of reservations and customer care at Hilton. And Becky Plager is my friend on top of it. And she's got a really cool son who's a magician. And I look at him, I go, that was me when I was a kid. And he's darn good. He will amaze you. But right now, let's hear from Becky because what she tells us, well, that will be amazing as well. So let's hear from Becky. Well, Becky, thanks for being on the summit with us. You and I could talk for hours, and I wish we had hours, but we only have a few minutes. So let's start by just very quickly telling everybody what your role is at Hilton, which is probably one of the most iconic hospitality brands in the world. That probably is.
It absolutely is. Thank you, Shep, for having me. I'm Becky Plager. I am the global head of reservations and customer care at Hilton, which means that anytime you're making a reservation or need our help, one of my teams are here, whether it be one of my internal teams in the US or around the globe or through our partners.
So what can we learn from one of the most iconic brands in the world? And by the way, you have a tremendous amount of experience in this role. Prior to this, you were with another huge organization that's been recognized and won numerous awards as well for amazing service. So what can we learn? I mean, there's so much, but are there 2 or 3 points that you can think of?
I can think of one that shines bright, and that is, historically, I was very customer centric and I was trying to get the rest of the organization around that. I can tell you every single person at Hilton is customer centric. Hospitality is truly something special and one that always has the guest in mind. And so our motto to share the warmth and light of hospitality runs deep, and it's in every interaction inside our properties as well as outside our properties, including within my centers.
All right, so that mantra you just mentioned, is that something that the customer or the guest sees, or is that something that's internal?
It's both. I know that I chatted out there with a great hashtag. We also have our, we are Hilton, we are hospitality out there, but absolutely something that Conrad Hilton started over 100 years ago and still carries through everything that we do today.
Great. So how do you get people to buy into this mantra? Is it part of the hiring process? Is it the training process? What do you do?
Absolutely both. So if you are someone who is empathetic, who understands the value of a brand and how to represent a brand, if you understand how to take control of a call, and it's not my fault, but it is now my problem to resolve. We look for people that are like that. And then we train. We can train them on the history of the Hilton brand and what we're all about and the expectation of our customers and how to make sure that we are managing to expectations, and as you would say, a little bit above that, right? Because we are not satisfactory. We need to go above in order to spread that warmth and light of hospitality.
Yeah, so I would imagine finding people that fit the profile that you just mentioned, sounds like that's a dream of every HR person who's going to have anybody on the front line. Is there a shortage of these types of people? Are they easy to find? And I know that if you find the right personality, you can mold them and train them to do the technical side of what's needed. But how difficult is it to get good people?
Well, it's always a challenge to get good people, although I think our brand as a whole attracts the right type of people. We're not looking for those that are order takers, that are transactional. We really want people that are helpers. And so whereas historically I may have wanted previous contact center experience as I'm hiring my new agents, here it's all about any kind of service-minded position. They could work on property, they could work in fast food, they could work in a hospital, right? Anywhere that you're really taking care of the customer is what we're after.
Yeah, I think, I mentioned it, I think before as we were interviewing somebody else, that I work with a large organization, and I talked to this gentleman who was in charge worldwide of their customer support, and he said, I would rather hire somebody, how about this, that worked at a Hilton at the front desk for 4 years, and then wants to work in a support center, than hire somebody with support center experience. So,
absolutely, and thank you. Whoever said that, thank you. Yes, it makes a true difference when you are there to, we're in the human business.
Yeah, I believe so. All right, let's have some fun. I'm going to challenge you to give me the best, I call it the best, the biggest challenge that you've ever had with a guest, and how did you handle it?
Ooh, the biggest challenge with a guest. I mean, there are many, right? We're in customer service. I'm going to share the most fun one that we
Yeah, that's what I
had.
want. I want something fun. We
Okay,
should
all
have
right.
fun.
So
This
there
isn't just
was
a summit. This is a festival.
Oh, there we go. Okay. They would fit right in a festival. So we had a pretty iconic band staying in one of our properties, and I won't give the name because I don't have it released, but they were staying in one of our properties, and they were stuck in a hotel or in the elevator. And the only way that they had to get a hold of us was through our social media channel. And they made it kind of fun. So guess what? We made it kind of fun. And after several back and forths, and we're talking a huge property they were at, we were able to locate where they were and get them to safety. And it became something that that they were very grateful of our service, and we were able to have fun with them. So again, as a brand, we're in the human business. We wanted to show up as they were showing up, and because they came at us with some humor, we came back at them with some humor, and everyone was safe, and it was a whole lot of fun and a lot of hashtags going back and forth.
Oh, I can imagine. So this, we've taken it beyond. I mean, when people think of reservations, you think of a calling in for reservation, but really there's digital channels. And in this case, they reached out on social. Do you remember if it was Twitter or Facebook or another channel?
It was Twitter.
It was Twitter. And how long first of all, you said they had fun. How much fun did they have with it? What did they say? Do you remember? This is great.
A ton of fun. I should have looked it up in advance. A whole lot of fun. It just, if you could send me a hamburger, we're happy to stay in here a little longer.
Oh, that's great.
Room service. So it was really fun, and it was almost like a scavenger hunt to find them again, because it's on a huge property in order to locate them. So it was a lot of fun.
That's great. So do you remember how long it took for you to respond to that request or to that first post?
So I have 24/7 monitoring of our social media channels. And our typical SLAs are within 15 minutes, but it was significantly less than that, I probably say. I think it was more in like the 5-minute range, a little under 5 minutes.
Wow. And I got to tell you why this is huge. So on average, do you know what the average time it takes for somebody to respond to an email or a social media channel when somebody has a service type request? Do you know what that number is?
Well, I would assume it's somewhere around 24 hours, given a lot there are a lot of
depending on what
SLAs
studies you look at, 8 to 24 hours, and 24 hours is a good timely response for email and social media. It's 8 to 10 to 12 hours. The point being, it's like, if I'm stuck in an elevator and I need to reach you and I don't want to talk to you for 8 hours, I should wait 8 hours before texting or tweeting or whatever. What you're saying is that your SLAs, basically the expectation that you created for yourself is less than 15 minutes, and you did it in under 5. I love it. I know you can't say who it is, but I got to find out who that rock band is.
I'll text it to you.
All right, cool. Hey, we're down to the final question. Less than a minute. Is there one last thing you want to share with us? Something you say, you know what? I want all of the people attending the summit to know this. What would it be?
Wow. One thing? How
Just
about if I
one last little thing.
How about if I give you 3 things that I would say every CX leader needs to know?
That is perfect. Not just one, but 3. Ladies and gentlemen, value here at our summit.
That's right. I would say it's not just about the customer experience. It's about the employee experience, our agent experience, leader experience. Don't assume that you know on either side what those things are. You need to listen, create those listening programs, which brings me to number 2. Those listening programs, make sure you're not using that just in your operation, but share those insights broadly and hold others accountable for those friction points. And last but not least, I'll quote Jean Bliss, who talks about, would you do that to your mother? Or you could use the golden rule or the platinum rule. Don't let the process get in the way of doing the right thing always. Again, would you do that to your mother? Would you want that experience for your spouse or your grandparent to have to go through those things? So create your experiences that really matter. And again, on our side, share that warmth and light of hospitality.
Yep, so much. And I love it. I love it. And 3 outstanding takeaways. And I think the last one is all about empathy and getting into your customer's shoes, if you will. So, Becky,
Sure.
I wish we had hours to talk. Thank you so much for being on our program today. You are awesome. And I can't wait to see you, hopefully at a live event for CCW sooner than later. All right, everybody. Thanks, Becky.
Thanks, Shep. Bye, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Becky. You know what? I love talking to people who actually do it day in and day out for a living. You know, guys like me, we study it, we research it, we talk to clients, we learn from clients. I mean, this is part of what we do. It's a research. But you know what? Hearing from somebody in the trenches, so to speak, is great. Jim Rothbarth, and actually it's not Jim that's, it's his, I think it's probably his wife. Terrific. Come at it with some humor and fun. By the way, if you dig deep enough into the annals of Twitter, you will find who that band was. And if somebody can find that band, I don't know what I'll do. I'll give them some kind of a prize. But anyway, thank you, Becky. That was awesome. You know, coming up after, we're going to take a break in just a minute or two. But after that break, Ramon, we have 3 amazing speakers, plus another little session, the 6 steps to creating a customer-focused culture, another 6 ideas. It's Claire Rayburn. How are you? Thanks, Becky. Brilliant. Ramon, it's 6 steps to creating the customer-focused culture. And again, 6 ideas in 6 minutes. Boom, right. Boom, boom. Rapid fire. We've got Dan Gingiss. We've got who's going to talk about how customer experience is marketing. We've got Rupesh Patel, who is a hotelier who has more reviews than even some major hotels have. Yet he is this little tiny chain of I think 2 or 3 properties. He's amazing. And then we have, to close it all out, my friend Dennis Snow, lessons from the mouth, from his mouth to our ears, lessons from the mouse, the Disney mouse. This guy is a rock star. I love Dennis Snow, and he's going to be closing it out in just a little while. But right now, what are we going to do, Ramon? Do we have any announcements before we take a quick break?
Yeah, no, I think just the intermission's good. And just remind people, go to customeramazementsummit.com, customeramazementsummit.com. And those of you who've heard me and Shep say this for a long time, because we got people coming in, coming out, so we want to deliver a great customer experience to them. So register, and Shep and I decided we're going to be giving away the content of this amazing session. For those of you who may have come in a bit late, those of you who couldn't stay for the whole time, just register customeramazementsummit.com, and we will send you the entire show for your use. Those of you who purchased already, don't worry one bit. Shep and I are good guys. We're going to refund your money, so don't worry about it. But we're having a good time. And Shep, I think we can have our intermission.
Yeah, but before we do that,
all right,
Linda Hansen found the band.
Okay.
Sister Hazel.
Okay.
Sister Hazel, who when I was younger, kind of a, I would call Southern rock band, kind of a Allman Brothers kind of a feel to it. And I just want to know if you've got a moment, Linda. I just need to know how you knew that. Like, what research? You went into Twitter and you went back into, you know, and Jill just said it was Sister Hazel band. So I guess is that it, and I realized, you know, and actually Jill got it first. Okay, yeah. Jill got it first. We got to give credit to Jill. That's amazing. So here is the thing. As soon as it goes onto social media, it becomes public.
That's right.
And my friend Jay Bear calls social media and customer service a spectator sport, because you get to watch how amazing companies, maybe some not so amazing companies, handle their customer service. Absolutely. So what do you say, Ramon? We're going to give everybody a break. You and I are going to stay here and talk.
That's right.
Fair? All right.
And don't want to take a break, Shep. I'm just looking at the comments. You know, we got a lot of people talking about stuck in the elevator. That is amazing presentations. Jill is saying I just Googled it. So we got the chat is lit up. Elias saying amazing presentations. Thank you so much for that. Linda says she remembers reading it on Facebook. So Shep, I've just been having a good time and doing this event with you. You and I have planned this some time ago. We came together like, what can we do that's kind of crazy, audacious, big? Maybe it won't work. Maybe it will work. Shep was like, that sounds good to me, Ramon. Let's try it. And here we have September 5th, Customer Amazement Summit. So it's been great.
By the way, if you want to take the break, Ramon and I are just going to riff and talk, and anybody wants to stick around the can. But we're coming back at 16 minutes past the hour. That's in about 4 minutes. So I know that's not a long time, but when you come back, we'll kill another minute or two. So rock and roll, folks. Go do what you have to do, or stick around and listen to Ramon and I talk. I know this. Pizza's coming in a little while.
Wow.
So, I mean, here's the thing. We're going till on the West Coast, let's go East Coast, we're going to 7:30, Central 6:30, Mountain Time 5:30, West Coast 4:30. And you know what? Wherever you are in the world, it's happy hour somewhere.
That's right.
Okay, like right about now. And you can have a slice of pizza, get your sushi, get your veggie sandwich. If you are vegan, get what's vegan? I just recently had
tofu.
I had tofu, but I had a cauliflower pizza crust. That's vegan. Yeah.
Can I tell you what I'm going to have, Shep?
And you know what else? I bought for my sister the other day gooey butter. Now, gooey butter cake is a St. Louis specialty. So gooey butter cake is really cool. It's gooey. It's rich. It's like if you took butter and sugar and mixed it all together and then cooked it a little while, that's what it tastes like on top of a crust. And I saw vegan gooey butter. My sister can't have any dairy. And I said, is it really vegan? She goes, yep. I go, I got. And so my sister, who's never had gooey butter cake before in her life, experienced gooey butter cake.
Wow. So, that is powerful. I don't know if I would try that myself, Shep, but I'm telling you what I'm going to have, Shep. What I love to do, because I'm trying, I don't want to eat too heavy. I got so much, talking about vegetarian, I got steak and all kind of meat upstairs in the refrigerator, but I think I'm going to have my favorite snack, which is Raisin Bran and Honey Nut Cheerios
combined
together in a bowl of cold whole milk. That's what I have as a delicious snack.
Is it an even mix of the Cheerios and the Raisin Bran?
Pretty much. I don't weigh it out like a scientist, but it's pretty much there. Yeah.
Okay. And that's safe to eat before you go to bed?
Well, not necessarily right before, but in my time, 7:30, I'll be going to bed hours later. I'm a bit hungry, Shep, and I've been here yakking with you and serving our amazing audience for the past, 3.5 hours. So, hey.
Hey, Jill has a question. Well, how do you deal with employees who post mean memes on social media about certain types of customers? In this case, religious types of customers who go to church. So, hey, we need, that's a great question. This is a very serious answer. I almost want to hold off till we do Q&A, but I'll give a quick answer now. And that is, companies, if this is a problem, need to immediately implement a social media basically guideline and recognize that if you're saying something in social media that's incongruent with what the company believes, it's time to go. It's a tough one, but that's what we do. So I'm getting a note from Claire that I need to kind of wrap up this whole break, but come on, we're running right on time. We are on time. Who ever thought that we would run on time? We're more on time than the airlines.
So, Shep, what are you going to talk about? I have here, Shep, which I'm excited about, 6 steps to CX culture. It's not quite time, but of course, Shep, everything is time because this is a show that we're doing. But 6 steps to creating a customer-focused culture. Shep, I'm excited to know what you're going to say. We've talked a lot about customer experience at this time. And again, I'm always excited, Shep, when you get to shine a bit more because you know this stuff inside and out. It's what you do. It's what you fly around the world. It's what big companies hire and consult you to do. So, Shep, I can look forward to hearing what you're about to say, brother. The floor is yours.
Great. So we'll start in just a moment. Okay. So I want to give people just a chance to come in here. That's Storm Wah. Funny, many people are doing Zoom calls during this time, and this has been one of the best online events. Well, thank you so much. You're so sweet. Great organization, keep people engaged. Well done, guys. Wash hands during those breaks. 100%.
Absolutely.
And you know what? It's amazing we are on time. So with that in mind, I have 6 minutes to give you 6 ideas on how to create the customer-focused culture. And I'm counting myself down. In about 19 seconds, I'm going to start, Ramon, because then I'll know we're right on track. And then after that, who do we have coming up right after that? Oh, Rupesh Patel.
Yes.
Oh, and I've had him on my podcast several times. All right, 6, get ready to ding that bell in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, another angel has its wings. All right, 6 steps to creating the customer-focused culture. And now I will add to you to this that these are simple steps, but simple does not mean easy. Number 1 is to define it. And define it means you create what I refer to as a customer service mantra. You define your vision for customer service. You get leadership together, you get some other people maybe on the front line and other departments to sit around and say, what do we want our customer vision to be? The Ritz-Carlton, and I know somebody mentioned somewhere in the comments, ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. Actually, it's we are ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen, only because I like to say it's 9 words long, a 9-word vision. And that is what the Ritz came up. We have 3 words, always be amazing. It's what we try to do for our clients. We teach our clients to do that for their customers and clients. Make it easy, make it simple, make it memorable, and then just once you have it, communicate it. That's number 2. You communicate it, and you do this over and over again. You let everybody know what that vision is. And by the way, this vision does not change year to year. It's not a theme. This is as important as your mission statement. It's important as any values that you might have. And by the way, sometimes your vision is incorporated into those values. We'll pull it out, break it down to becoming 1 sentence long, and then get people to understand what it is. Just as Jason Bradshaw walked around and said, hey, do you have your card, which has what I refer to as the non-negotiables on it. That's where you start. They should be able to recite it. They should be able to pull it out of their pocket. It's on their business card. You communicate it over and over again. Number 3, train everybody to it. Because once you have the vision, you start to communicate it. Everybody needs to know what their role is. And I mean, everybody gets trained, not just people on the front line who deal directly with customers, but it is cultural. It's what your company's all about. So you talk to people, as I used the example earlier, in a warehouse who may have no customer-facing opportunities at all, but you tell them where they fit into the process. You teach them the language. You teach them what your vision, your customer-focused vision means to them and how they operate. You teach it to your frontline, maybe differently than you teach it to the salespeople. But the point is, everybody gets trained to it. And this is real important. Training isn't something you did, it's something you do. It's not something that happens at onboarding and then you say, okay, now they've learned about customer service, let them go out there and 3-4 years later. No, constantly remind them. And there's lots of ways to do that. We can talk about that another time. Maybe somebody wants to ask a question about it. I'm happy to share how do you keep customer service training going, just even a few minutes each week. Number 4 is to demonstrate it. And as leaders especially, leaders must be the role models. My favorite example of this, since we've got our friend Dennis Snow coming up and we had Simon T. Bailey a little while ago from Disney, is Walt Disney himself, who used to walk into the theme park and everybody said, oh, there's Mr. Disney, all of the cast members, which is what they call their employees, cast members. They're in a show. And Walt Disney would walk through the park knowing that he was being watched by all the people he worked with. And he'd see a piece of paper on the ground and he'd stoop down, he'd pick up the paper and he'd throw it away. And he referred to that as stooping to excellence. Actually, it might have been Michael Eisner who said that was Walt stooping to excellence. But what happened is his mind was, if he walked by that piece of paper, he gave permission for everyone else to walk by that piece of paper. So practice what you preach. If you're going to tell somebody to do something, make sure you're willing to do it yourself and demonstrate the experience to your employees that you want the customers to have. Number 5, and that is to defend it. In other words, if somebody, some department, if you're a global company and some region is out of alignment with your vision, you need to step in and defend that vision. I once asked a CEO of a very successful company what his most important role was at the company. And I thought he was going to say, I find the deals. I network with other people in my industry or even outside of the industry. I find the deals and I help put them together. I bring people there. But no, what he said was, I defend the culture. And I went, wow, That's powerful. And he says, somebody has to make sure that everybody stays in alignment to our vision and our values. And now I'll add to that our customer focused or customer service mantra. And finally, number 6, and this is an easy one. When it's working, celebrate. Let your people know that they've done a great job. Tell them, yes, and I see Ramon pumping his hands up and down. Yes, when they're doing a great job, you tell them, you celebrate. You don't have to do something fancy, although some companies love to have extravagant banquets where they give out awards. But how about every once in a while, just bringing in donuts, bringing in pizza, and saying, hey, everybody, we did a great job. Thank you so much. It's all working. I worked with a company that said, hey, we need to hit some goals, some metrics. And if we do that, I realize there's a lot of people here that never talk or connect with the customer. So our people on the front line have to do an amazing job. And if they do an amazing job, it's only because they have the support of all of you behind them. So here's what's going to happen. If we hit our numbers, everybody gets a big screen before the Super Bowl and the taxes to pay for it. That's exactly what they gave away. And it was a celebration when they hit the numbers. It was wonderful. So real quick, you define it, you communicate it, you train everybody to it, you act as a role model, you defend it, and then you celebrate. That's 6 minutes, 6 ideas. There it is. Ding, 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 ding. We've done it.
Yeah, Shep, that was awesome. I think, listen, that was awesome. And I love, again, the story, though, of Walt, I think it was, stooping down to pick it up. I think it means so much because in the same way we hear negatively, and I know we got to move into Rupesh's intro, Shep, but the same way negatively, you may have heard the story, how like when you're the boss, everybody laughs because you're the boss. The light's on you. In the same way, you can use that power for good.
And so you demonstrate it. Perfect. All right, Jill says ongoing training. That's right. Training's not something you did, it's something you do. When we come back to do our Q&A, we're going to address exactly how you can create an ongoing training that costs virtually nothing to do other than a few minutes of time, and you're probably spending that time in meetings anyway, so just do it right. All right, let's talk about Rupesh Patel. He is a hotel owner, and he has a something called Sharing Daily Hospitality Insights, which he does with over 37,000 other hotel professionals. This guy is amazing when it comes to understanding customers and delivering hospitality that gets customers to want to come back again and again. That's what Rupesh does. So let's go ahead and let's learn how to get great reviews from Rupesh Patel. Well, Rupesh, it's great to see you again. Great for you to be here on our Customer Amazement Summit. Thank you so much.
Yes, it's a pleasure being on. Shep, I really, I love everything you do. So I'm excited to get on this summit and share some of the things I'm passionate about, and reviews are one of the top things.
Right. Well, you and I have interviewed together before. And by the way, you have a wonderful podcast that you do for the hotel industry. And I would suggest that anybody that wants to have a hospitality mentality, they should be following you. So real quickly, how do we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So every Wednesday, I host a live podcast or a show on LinkedIn. It's Hospitality with Rupesh, live on LinkedIn every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Reach out to me at rupeshlive.com. That'll go directly to my feed, and I'm happy to connect with you on LinkedIn.
So do you have to own a hotel to enjoy and pick up ideas from what you talk about on this show?
No, so hospitality goes, yeah, hospitality is universal, right? Anything you do in life is usually connected to hospitality. If you have friends coming over, you're offering hospitality. If you go to a restaurant, you're offering hospitality. So it's that connection between one person and another, or a family and another family, right? And so my ideas that I love sharing and bringing people on is kind of universal. And so anybody can learn this.
Yep. So a hospitality mentality. And just so you know that I have clients that have said if they had a choice between hiring somebody with experience specific to their industry or hiring somebody that worked in a hotel for 5 years, they're going to take the person that worked in the hotel because they understand what service is. Hotels, restaurants, retail per se. All right, we're going to talk about reviews. That's the main thing. And you really, you live and die by reviews. Would you agree?
Absolutely. We are focused on reviews, and we've been focused on this for quite some time. Ever since reviews popped up, I saw this this importance of having a great online presence. And that's not just pictures, but it's what people are saying about you online, and people are reading it. It's just like Amazon. You know, that Amazon effect, when you have awesome reviews, what's happening in our industry too, as far as hotels, but it can happen in any business.
Yeah, no matter what industry you're in, there are people reviewing you, and it may not be as public as TripAdvisor, but it could be, you know, your industry's, you know, forum or channel that they have where people are talking about you, and even what I would call like not so regulated is when people are getting together at a conference and they're talking about you. You know, it's very informal, but they are still talking about you. And there's two things I want to address here. Number one, the reason you want reviews, really, to me, and agree with me and add to it and disagree if you feel you need to. Number one, if you tell your employees, we are going to be reviewed, keeping that in mind, let's deliver a level of service that will get us a good review. It's that simple. So it's kind of like there's this watchdog effect on the people you work with, knowing that, hey, we're going to be graded, maybe not individually, but as a team. And if you've got everybody who's working toward that same goal, ideal situation. Number two, these reviews are some of the best marketing that you could possibly have. They're they reflect on the customer experience because they tell the story. So take with that, either disagree, agree, or give me more.
I 100% agree on both of those. And let me start with the second one first. Yes, absolutely. We have guests walk into our door every single day, say, we saw your reviews. That's why we booked in. We saw that you had thousands of reviews compared to that hotel next door that had maybe 2 reviews or 20 reviews. And we picked you because we're focused on it, right? And the only way we can be focused on it is if our entire team is on board. So we have this whole strategy behind reviews and how to get them. And it's not just the GM that's focused on it, the owner, it's the entire team. So we do all these different things that we could talk about on how to get more reviews.
Yep. So, but doesn't the fact that you are trying to get those reviews raise the stakes for everybody that's working at the hotels?
Absolutely. It's your reputation online, right? People are talking about you, and everybody understands that my name might get mentioned on a good review or a bad review. And
you encourage that, not the bad reviews, but you encourage that the names do get mentioned. That's part of your secret sauce.
Absolutely. So when a guest does check out, we get their feedback, right? We collect feedback before you leave, and any business can do this, right? Collect feedback. It's kind of like qualifying them before they leave. And if they have not enjoyed their stay or their experience, you're going to fix it. You're going to recover them. Now, if they've enjoyed it, which more than 90% of your customers enjoyed their experience at your hotel or your restaurant or any business, right? But we don't take that initial extra step to ask.
Yeah,
that one
I think
extra
that's
question.
An important piece of it is making sure, even before they leave, before they even have the chance to do any type of an online review. So you have a real simple secret to getting reviews. One word: ask. Right?
Ask.
Go ahead and share what you do, because this is great. This is why you have 1,000 and the other hotel has 20.
Absolutely. So for us in the hotel business, when guests check out, they're either leaving with a good experience or a bad experience. We want to catch all those bad, negative experiences before they leave and fix them, right? That's our job. So we noticed a long time ago that some people are leaving upset because of something. And guess what? Every business, including every 5-star luxury hotel, has an issue, right? Everybody has an issue with something or another. And it might be a 1% or it might be 10%. We have to catch those 1 to 10% of those people that are upset and make them happy, right? And those people that are happy, guess what? We have to ask. So we have a strategies. When you come in, we ask Mr. Shep Hyken, how was your stay? And we don't just take it and get that feedback. What's one thing that we can do to improve, right? And that shows that you're being authentic and you're really believing in your service and you care, right? And beyond that, then we ask for a review, which a lot of hotels that I stay at, and you probably stay at too, they just say, how was your stay? And that was it. Here's your bill. Thank you so much. See you next time. But you ask extra questions, it makes a difference. They show.
And you say you ask for the review. I mean, do you just say, would you please give us a review, or what does that look like or sound like?
Yeah, so once we know that they are happy, we qualify them to be a happy guest leaving. We say, Mr. Smith, we have a couple of things that we've kind of go through. So we have the cards. Every employee at our hotel has their own business card, including housekeepers. right? The first day you come on, you have a temporary card that you can write your name on, but first day you start working with us, you get an opportunity to get your name mentioned on a review. So I'm going to start with that whole part of it where if your name gets mentioned, you get an incentive behind it, right? But how we ask is, Mr. Smith, thank you so much for staying with us. Here's my personal business card. For the next time you stay with us, call me directly. I will take care of your reservation and make sure you get the best room here. And by the way, don't forget to mention my name on a review and circle TripAdvisor on the back of the card and ask, will you post a review about your stay with us? You've really enjoyed it. And let them say yes or no. Simple as that.
Yep. And I would imagine not everybody does it, but once you plant the seed, that's the idea, is you need to plant that seed. Now, I'll give you a great example of a wrong way to do it. And you tell me it's when. I know you've created an incentive for your people to simply ask and mention my name. But what you don't ask them to do is, hey, make sure you leave a good review. Wink, wink, because if you don't, I'm going to get fired. If you don't, I won't get my free trip. If you won't, I won't get my incentive. That's not the way to go about it, is it?
No. And asking for reviews prior to their check-in or at check-in doesn't make sense either. So if you're a business, don't ask for that review or give them a card. Here's a card to get me a review during your stay or whatever. Do it at the end after you qualify them that they really enjoy their stay or their service.
So they already said they love you.
Yeah, if they loved you, you're not saying, oh, I'm going to give you a free something. And it's illegal on TripAdvisor for hotels to incentivize guests to post a positive review. So we don't mention anything that we're going to give you something. I know a lot of businesses, especially other businesses that are not on TripAdvisor, they do incentivize. You'll get 25% of your next stay with us, or not stay, but something or another. And it's kind of like a gift for posting a review. And I think Google doesn't mind that. There's some other sites that don't mind the gifting or the incentive or the motivating part of getting a review. Hotels, we do not do that.
All right, we're almost out of time. Just a few seconds left here. My final question, you've interviewed with me before, I'm going to ask it. The one last thing you want this audience to know and remember about great reviews or getting reviews.
Absolutely. So focus on reviews every day. It's part of your budget. If you're not focused on reviews, guess what? You're leaving your business to somebody else. They're going to your competition. So focus on reviews no matter what you have today, and look at your competition, see what they're doing. Look at our hotels in the space, see what we're doing, see how we're successful, translate that into your business to see how you can succeed.
Yeah, and not only that, I would add, not only focus on the review, but share the reviews with your team so they get to hear the good stories, and remind them as soon as those doors open or as soon as that next customer comes in, you get to start over and do it all over again. So
and there's so many tools, and there's so many tools out there. Own business cards, text, email, send a message through social. A lot of tools out there that are free right now that you have the opportunity to get reviews today.
Right. I love it. So make sure you follow Rupesh. We'll make sure everybody gets the information about the LinkedIn Live. Wonderful. Thank you for being on the program. We love you. The Customer Amazement Summit is better because of you. I'm going to give you a great review. Thanks, Rupesh.
Good talking to you, Shep.
All right. Well, I give him 5 stars on a scale of 1 to 5. If I could, I'd give him 6. Yeah, there you go. At least. How about this? That's amazing. So anyway, where am I? So there's several things that I want to just reiterate from that. Reviews are really important, and every industry has a review of some kind. It may not be TripAdvisor. Right. It may not be a social media review. It might be executives from different companies within an industry, B2B, say business to business, that are meeting at a conference talking about the different companies that they do business with. In a sense, that's review. There's bulletin boards, which is an antiquated term, but yet it's still used, where there are forums where customers can all get together and talk about the companies that they do business with within their industry. So really important. I also think it's pretty cool. We had Rupesh, who is a hotelier. We had Becky Pleger, who runs guest relations at Hilton. And, I mentioned in our interview with Becky that getting somebody with the hospitality mentality, somebody who worked at a hotel, even somebody that worked at a restaurant, worked in retail even, who has that frontline experience, that is invaluable experience. If you're looking to hire people who are good customer-focused people, it doesn't mean it's 100%, but I think they're already on the start to understanding what it's like to work in front of people. Not to say that somebody that doesn't have that experience wouldn't do great as well, but as you're looking for people, if you see that in a background, something definitely to consider. All right. Oh, we're actually a couple minutes ahead of time, and I love being early because that way if we, people want to leave early, well, I hope they don't. No. But we're talking like a minute early. So our buddy, Dan Gingiss, and I met Dan when I did a speech years ago for one of the companies he used to work for, Discover. This guy has actually worked for major brands. He'll tell you more about that. But he is the experience maker, and he's got that term trademarked. He's a keynote speaker. He is a customer experience coach. We do incredible fun things together on video. And you know what else? The guy understands marketing because that's what he did for so many years. So let's learn from Dan Gingiss. Great to have you here. Dan Gingiss, the man, the myth, the legend, worked in the corporate America, decided to go out and take all that customer service and experience that he had, experience that he had, and then take it to all of us and sharing with us. So I love the title of what we're going to be talking about today, and that is how customer experience can be your best marketing and sales strategy. So let's just dive right into it. Since we have a short time, let's start with it. Why is customer experience your best marketing and sales strategy?
Well, first of all, Shep, I appreciate you referring to me as the man, the myth, the legend, but we all know that it is Shep Hyken who fits that description better.
Oh.
But I'm just happy to be here talking with you, bald guy to bald guy.
There you go, so brother from another mother.
Yes, the reason I believe that is I spent 20 years in corporate America running almost every marketing channel you could run other than television. I was in direct mail, email, social media, the Sunday coupons, magazines, all of it, websites. And what I found was there was nothing more powerful than creating a great customer experience that your customers want to talk about. One of the things that's always been elusive in marketing is what we call this word of mouth marketing. How do we create it? And the CMO says, well, why don't you just create a viral video? Yeah, if it was that easy, we would all do that. But what is absolutely doable is creating experiences that the people want to talk about. And then, as you know, when customers talk about us, it's far more credible and authentic than when we talk about ourselves. For example, when you call me the man, the myth, and the legend, it sure sounds a lot better than me referring to myself as the man, the myth, and the legend. So when we get other people to talk about us, it is incredibly credible, and it is really better than focusing any more money on all those marketing channels that I just mentioned before.
Yep, and I get it. There's probably lots of stats and facts out there that prove that point. So how do we get people to talk about us?
The research that I have found shows that people are actually more willing to share positive experiences than negative ones. That's surprising because often when we think about the experiences that we see out in social media and sort of the ether generally, we think about people talk about negative experiences. And while it's true that people share negative experiences quite a bit, they want to share positive experiences. But as we both know, as consumers, man, those positive experiences are few and far between. We just don't have enough of them that we really want to talk about. And when I'm on stage, I always love to ask a big audience, when's the last time you remember that a company so overwhelmed you and so amazed you that you couldn't wait to tell everybody about it? And 3 hands go up. And then I say, and when's the last time you remember that a company disappointed you? And everybody's
hand goes up.
Yeah, and so it's what we call in psychology the availability heuristic. When we look at what's available to us in terms of the stories we can tell, we've got lots of negative stories, but very few positive ones. And so the answer is we had to create more positive experiences because we know people want to share them, they just don't have them yet.
Yeah, is it because people expect that they should have a positive experience, so it's expected? They don't expect they're going to have a negative experience. So it's kind of like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. It's the one that stands out because it's what they weren't expecting. And by the way, they may not have been expecting the over-top experience either. They love it when they get it. But would you say that's part of it? Is it just like it's expected it's supposed to be good? So when it's not good, it really stands out.
I think that's definitely part of it. And we know that customer expectations continue to rise, but it really, in both the positive and the negative sense, it is really about not matching expectations. In the positive way, we're beating their expectations. I think people expect, I know you talk a lot about consistent experiences. I think people expect consistency. They expect it to be convenient. They expect it to be easy. But you can deliver all of those things and not have a remarkable experience that anyone particularly wants to talk about. You know, for example, you've never heard anybody say, let me tell you about the perfectly average restaurant I went to last night, right?
Right.
They delivered my food. I ate it. I paid the bill. They were nice. That was the end. That's not a story, even though it might match all of my expectations. I expected them to deliver and cook my food and whatever. That's it. So it's about the when we don't hit the expectations. Very often companies miss expectations, and yeah, that annoys people, and they want to complain about it publicly. But when we exceed the expectations, or we just surprise people in a way they weren't expecting, that also creates an opportunity that people want to talk about, whether it's to brag about, to get the social currency, or just because you made somebody feel real good. And when they feel good, they want others to feel that.
Sure. So I'm not here to push back, but that said, all those words, get ready for the next line.
I'm waiting.
It's impossible, I think, to consistently surprise customers every time they do business with you. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I think that's generally true, but I want to clarify something. Is often when people hear terms like surprise and delight or exceeding expectations, they often think about, oh, now I got to go shoot off live fireworks, you know, to celebrate somebody's birthday. No, you don't have to go and spend thousands of dollars to exceed someone's expectations. I'll give you a simple one that happened to us recently that any company can do that doesn't cost a lot of money. So we went to a steakhouse here in Chicago for my son's 14th birthday, and we told him that that it's his birthday. Now, what is your expectation when you tell a restaurant that you're celebrating a birthday?
The kid's going to get a dessert.
We're going to get a slice of cake with a candle. Exactly.
Yep.
That's the expectation. So if we deliver that, that's lovely, and we appreciate it, but we're probably not sharing that on Instagram. The first thing that happened is the maitre d' handed my son a handwritten birthday card to wish him a happy birthday when we walked in the door, which I thought was pretty cool. And then he kind of winked at my son and said, we got something for you after dinner. And when he said that, I knew what it wasn't. It wasn't a slice of cake and a candle, right? And so sure enough, after this great dinner, they brought out this beautiful box that had 6 handmade chocolates in it. It was placed on a plate. The plate had happy birthday written in cocoa powder in script. And instead of a candle, they had a sparkler coming out of one of the chocolates. It was such an amazing presentation. What do you think the first thing my 14-year-old son did? He went to Snapchat, I went to Instagram.
Yeah, pick up the mobile and started recording. Yep.
And so but that's a repeatable activity. That is a scalable activity. It's just looking at some part of our business and saying, what can we do differently that's just a little bit better? It's like I love talking about the word extraordinary, because really all it means is a little better than ordinary.
Yeah, extraordinary, not over the top extraordinary. And so I want to just make a point of this. You can actually make this part of your process. I won't mention the name of the restaurant, but their initials are Morton's. Oh, there, I did it. And I love Morton's.
Another Chicago company.
When I would call Morton's to make a reservation, they would always ask, can I ask if this is a special occasion? Why do you think they ask that? For the exact reason, Dan, that you told the restaurant it was your son's birthday. Morton's was proactive. So we show up, I remember it's one of the events, it's my son's graduation. We showed up and there was like stars and like sprinkle glittery things on the table. Okay. That was the start. And we knew it was going to be great. And we also we did get the cake with the candle, but they also came by with a Polaroid camera. If you remember those, now you would take the picture and go print it out, and they snapped the picture and they put it in a little card, and they gave that to us as a gift. So they operationalized the special occasion experience. So metaphorically, I think our big takeaway here is what can you operationalize? What's your version of the special occasion for whatever business you're in?
Yeah,
Makes
and you
sense?
know what? I know a lot of people watching right now, Shep, are saying, "Well, this is great, but I don't run a restaurant, and I don't even have a physical location."
I'm B2B. I'm in a manufacturing business.
Right,
So
but you
maybe
know
there's
what?
an example from that.
Every one of your customers has a birthday still, right?
Mhm.
And I'll tell you what, they're certainly not expecting to be wished a happy birthday by you, the B2B company, right?
Yep.
So you still have the opportunity to do something with this exact same idea and do it in a way that, again, fits your business. It's not going to be a slice of cake, but a way that recognizes people in a way that in an unexpected manner.
Yep.
And
So
I like to think about how many companies know our birthday. How many times have we had to show our license or fill out our birthday on a form? And then how many companies actually recognize our birthday? Almost none.
yep.
It's such a simple idea.
Yep, exactly. I love it. So I want to know, so that's kind of the surprise and delight kind of thing, but I've always been under the belief, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, that 10% better than average is all you need to do on a consistent basis to get customers to say, wow, they're always so friendly. They're always getting back to me quickly. They're always, followed by something good. How do you feel about that statement?
Totally agree. And that's why, again, this concept of extraordinary is just a bit better. It's one of the reasons why I love focusing on communications as a core aspect of customer experience that often gets overlooked. The words that we use in our signage, in our welcome letters, on our website, in our mobile app, the words that we use with a little creativity, a little cleverness and wittiness can completely change the experience of consuming those words. And so,
Example.
well, you know that I love showing signs, right? And
Yep.
signs, again, can be a physical manifestation. But think about, I mean, obviously a website is a storefront for lots of companies. So think
Right.
about that, and I can give you a website example as well. But signs are a great way to just show a little bit of personality, a little bit of fun. One of my favorite ones is a sign on a building in downtown Manhattan that says, "We are probably the lowest priced in the city." Right? Which I don't even know what business they're in yet, but I already love them because I know they have
Probably the lowest, you know?
They're honest. We know that. There was a website, a B2B website I was on recently where they had this sort of typical, what's popular now, where you kind of scroll and scroll and scroll and you learn and you learn and you scroll and scroll. And at the bottom, there's a big thing that pops up and says, "Well, now that you're done scrolling all the way down the page, why don't we humbly suggest that you do something like click a button or something like that." It was really cute because it was like, "Hey, how'd they know?" Oh, of course they knew that I was scrolling on their page, right? But it was just a little different, and I liked the company better. I hadn't even become a customer yet, but I realized that they had a bit of a sense of humor, personality, etc.
I believe it was you that talked about the humor that goes into the disclaimer. Was that you?
Yes, legal. I love to, you start the, what sounds like a bad joke. A lawyer and a marketer walk into a bar, right? And when they come out, what should happen?
I'm already laughing.
Yeah. What should happen when a lawyer and a marketer come out of the bar is that your disclaimers should be fun to read. And your contracts could be fun to read. And your card member agreement in the credit card world or your healthcare policies can all be fun to read. You can write in English in understandable language, not using acronyms, not using corporate mumbo jumbo, and talking to people like you would talk to somebody in real life. And
Do
so,
you have
yes, I love to.
Do you have a website that somebody could go to see an example of that?
A website, well,
or somewhere where you can get that example?
So one of my favorite examples is a company out of Asia called iFlix, and iFlix is a Netflix competitor in Asia, and they have, just like so many corporations have, they have this disclaimer at the bottom of all their emails that says, if you're the unintended recipient, you must delete this, burn it, otherwise we take your firstborn, whatever. And
right.
You've all seen those, right? Well, theirs, instead of any of that language, starts with all in capital letters, the words "covering our butts." Now, when you see "covering our butts," that draws your eye, especially in all caps. And what does it get you to do? It actually gets you to read the disclaimer, which, by the way, is what the lawyer walking into the bar wanted you to do in the first place. When you read the rest of the disclaimer, the whole thing is hilarious, but you can tell that a lawyer and a marketer were sitting next to each other. Because at one point, the lawyer said, you must say that they cannot disseminate this email. And the marketer said, but people don't know what disseminate means. So what they did was, in parentheses, they wrote, it means spread.
Okay. I love it. You know, you've turned a disclaimer into an experience, which goes back to your whole concept of experience is your best marketing and sales strategy. We are just about out of time, actually about 30 seconds. One thing extra you want to share with us before we go?
Yes. Become a customer of your own business in any way that you can, because we spend so much time looking at our business from the business perspective, from the marketer's perspective, from the experienced person's perspective. But that's the wrong perspective. We have to experience it as a customer. Sign up for your own product, log into your own website, call your own call center, and experience it as a customer would. And that will give you ideas for what you can improve.
All right, Dan Gingiss, that's why I refer to you as the man, the myth, the legend, whether you won't refer to yourself or not. Customer experience, the best sales and marketing strategy. Thanks, Dan, for being here at the summit.
Thank you, Shep. Really appreciate it.
All right, Dan, my man, Dan. And you know what? I love to see a bald brother from another mother. No doubt about it. We are going to do Q&A now. We have a few minutes for that, and then we're going to finish with our final speaker today, and that is our good friend, how good of it, Dennis Snow, the guy with the mouse. Ramon, look at it, a sparkler instead of a candle. Oh, wow. I had to tell you, Linda Hansen had one, because if I saw Dan do an entire presentation where I'm sure not the entire presentation was signs, but they were hilarious. And it was, she says, I remember a restaurant that had it painted on the side of the building. It's a lot nicer on the inside. That reminds me of our friend Tom Winninger. Ramon, you know Tom, don't you?
Not the name. Tell us who he is.
Tom Winninger is a past president of the National Speakers Association, and we're both members of that organization. And Tom used to tell the story about how he would walk into a restaurant and the owner would come up and give everybody, when you could, a hug, hello, hello, and even people he didn't know. And somebody came in one day, they saw all the people that were there waiting to come in, and they started to walk out. And he says, excuse me, this is my restaurant. I want you to stay. Why are you leaving? And they said, the line, it's so long. And he goes, it's only temporary. It gets shorter. So sometimes you just have to have fun. All right. So
that is true.
Do we have any questions? I know Claire has been compiling questions, and some of our people have been throwing some questions out there. How do you keep customer service training go? Oh, that's what we talked about earlier, wasn't it, Ramon?
Absolutely. And I think it's very important to do. Listen, customer service training, I think it's one of those things that never ends. I think, again, you may want to have some training. I think it's pretty cool, Shep. You know, I can think of the companies I've been in. Hey, today, Monday, Tuesday, or this date, you have specific times where you train. But I think it's kind of, if you can do it all the time, and if managers can always be aware and say, hey, Shep, come over here 1 second. I just want to tell you, you notice how you didn't greet that customer? Next time, just try to be aware as the customers are coming in and out and greet them with a smile. That's training right there. It doesn't have to be
one-to-one training and coaching is every bit as valuable as group, and if not even more so. And as a manager, if you make a conscious decision and you have a list of everybody and you make sure you're going to hit everybody during the week with one opportunity to learn. And by the way, I hope as many positives, if not more positives, than learning opportunities due to anything they may have done wrong. I think that's really important to balance them out, if not even go way overboard on the positives. When you let somebody know they're doing the right thing, they'll keep doing the right thing. That's right. And once in a while, you tell them something didn't work. And if you've been helping them do the right thing all along, they'll know that this was a way to learn how to do the right thing. All right, so
before you go on, can I just underline what you just said also? It's not just about the negative. Shep, I told you. Shep, I told you. Shep, I told you. Shep, again? No, it's about also me reinforcing and saying, Shep, great job. Shep, I liked how you did this. Shep, well done. So I just want to underline that.
Hey, and can I underline something? As long as we're saying, you know, we should be positive about things, I'd like to do a positive shout out to Jeslyn, Claire, Liz, Cindy, and of course you, Ramon, unbelievable. You know, I'm so honored to have all of you working on this summit. And of course, I want to thank all of our speakers and who are willing to take the time for us to hang out and interview with each other. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And you're doing a great job. All right, back to that question, how you keep training going. I just want to hit that for a moment. Yeah. We have an exercise called the Moment of Magic exercise. And what we ask is everybody to recognize when they've created a good, positive experience for one of their either internal customers, somebody they work with where they support somebody inside, or an outside customer. And the idea behind that is you just write down 2 or 3 sentences, not a novel. It's got to fit on an index card, just a 3x5 index card. A few sentences. It could be something as simple as a client emailed me and I got back to her within 30 minutes. She said, wow, that was fast. Okay. And by the way, those are great. I want to hear it because what that's doing is making people aware that it's important to respond quickly. Right. And you then bring that type of experience in. By the way, they could also be over the top. You know, a client had, I remember, and it's on my videotape for my speeches, I believe. Oh, no, we decided not to do it because it was a little sensitive. But I go into the audience and I ask people to do this exercise live. By the way, asking somebody to think back on when they were nice is harder than starting to recognize it over the next week. But one guy said, you know, and it was a cosmetologist. He cut hair for a living. And he said he's been cutting this husband and wife's hair, and the wife called him and said, you know, my husband has cancer and he's dying. Would you please give him his last haircut? Okay? So he, at the end of work that day, took his shears and went over to this person's home and realized he was giving the very last haircut. And he made sure that haircut was the best darn haircut that customer or whatever you want to call it. I say it's more of a partner at that point, the way you're treating somebody. It's so much more than a customer relationship. He made sure that person had the best haircut ever. That's a moment of magic. So that's one extreme all the way to called somebody back. But they're all good. Then you could mix it up. You could say, hey, next week I want you to find something that somebody complained about that you fixed. I want you to be proactive and seek out an opportunity to fix something or tell somebody something before they ever knew about it. Okay. Yeah. So you can create all these different scenarios and write them down. And once a week, you get together as a small group in your department and you just share these. It takes 4 or 5 minutes to do, and it keeps everybody aware. The Ritz-Carlton, every day before the shift, talks about one of their 24 gold standards. And each day, the manager talks to the team about it. And if you're at the Ritz-Carlton, where you are in New York, or where I am in St. Louis, or somebody over in Abu Dhabi, it's always going to be that same gold standard that they talk about. And they go through 24 of them, and then they repeat. At the end of the year, the typical employee is heard probably 10 times each one of those gold standards. So that's how you keep the training going. All right, Claire, thank you for that question. We had somebody else that had one. How do you deal with, why don't you read it to me? Since I want you to be part of this. I can just do all the talking.
And by the way, once we're doing that, I want to tell you something about the power of written notes as well, Shep. But how do you deal with employees? We may have touched on this, but I think, how do you deal with employees who post mean memes on social media? And I think, Shep, your answer, just to reinforce that for those who may not have heard, your answer, Shep, was really, the short of it is, you may have to just let them go. Whether you're going to talk about probation or not is another story. But the end of the day is, I think if your employee doesn't have your core value, to know that you just don't make fun of people, period. And or 2, to have the sensitivity to look around, make sure you're in a bathroom by yourself without connection to microphone to make somebody at the very least. If they don't have that presence of mind, they have a problem. So I think that, in this day and age, I think, Shep, nobody is alone. If I can touch on, Shep, thank you for that question, Joe, the aspect of paper, if I may just touch on that. So right behind me, Shep, and you'll see this is live, ladies and gentlemen. I have here some note cards I got from a talk I did at our colleagues at NSA. What it says doesn't matter, but the point is that wrote some kind words about me. All these cards, Shep, I can't throw them out. So digital's good, but something about that paper that a fellow human took the time to write this. So I just wanted to add, Shep, to what you said. We can do video, and Shep and I use BombBomb and other tools, but take the time sometimes to put a handwritten note. I think Dan referred to it, the handwritten note that the mater deeded to the child. It just means something when you have something in your hand. That's all I wanted to add.
Hanging on my wall here at the office is a thank you note from my cab driver, Frank.
Wow.
From back in the 1980s. as a reminder. And I tell that story still today. People want to hear the story. But I saw a concept up there of inclusion, not exclusion. You know,
but don't forget the story, Shep. Finish your story. What was the card about? Come on, man.
I would say a thank you. I mean, how many people ever receive a thank you note from a taxi cab driver or an Uber driver?
Just saying thank you. Okay. I was
and that's all it was. And I actually wrote a book called The Loyal Customer. It's a thin little book, and I even say it's not a book, it's a lesson. And the idea is, and I share the thank you note, and I talk about how somebody took a basic, ordinary job and turned it into something extraordinary.
Yeah.
Hey, man, we've only got a minute or two left, but data storm, it's a hailstorm. No, it's data coming at me from every angle. Inclusion, not exclusion.
Yeah.
I don't know, but how do you interpret that?
Sure, I interpret it by me. I think it's so easy for us to exclude people by various actions we do. But I think the more open we are to just be aware and just have an attitude of yes. We'll see if that's what that storm means. But I think an attitude of yes, things like and that I've used from our mutual NSA friend Casey, you may know, that's I think where we're going with this. Because too many times our brains are so narrow, Shep. But I think if we just have that openness to say yes or and, like improv, I think that's how we win.
Yeah, yes, and in the improv. And I saw Heidi said she loves the taxi cab story. And my man, Jared Garson. Yes, Jared, thank you very much. There he is with his high school picture. He's in college now. And how do you like this? He was here at the beginning of our session, and he's still here. And I hope he's got his entire fraternity watching with us. All right. Let's do, we're actually a little ahead of schedule right now. So let's take one more question, and then we're going to move into our final speaker. And before I do this question, a reminder, if you're just dropping in now, please do register customeramazementsummit.com, because you are going to get an email from us. And actually, it might be a video from me. Make sure you check your spam filters over the next couple of days, just in case it goes there. But I'm going to give you the directions on how to get all of these. No charge. They're yours for being here. And I hope that you share these interviews and the insights from these speakers with everybody you work with, friends. This is not, it's proprietary in that it's their content, but the idea is we want to share this with the world. All right. Back to that question, which was, I saw it here. Jeslyn had the question. There it is. Why is feedback so important? And what should I do with it? Okay. We were kind of talking about that. Feedback, it's a gift, good and bad feedback, because if you're doing great, fantastic. But if nobody tells you there's a problem, and by the way, I'm not talking about feedback with employees right now. I'm talking about your companies that you do business with. Let them know if they haven't hit the mark. And if you do it the right way, they'll fix it for you in such a way. But you know what's more important is those companies appreciate when you tell them, because that's the only way they're going to know. You want to know what drives me crazy is when somebody, I hear this, I go into a client, and every once in a while I have clients that really are struggling and need a lot of help. And so what they will do is say, well, tell me your biggest number one problem you hear from customers. And they tell me, how often does it happen? Well, like every day. Why? You know it's going to happen. Do something about it. Stop the insanity.
So stop the insanity. So true, Shep. So true.
So anyway, all right. And all the way from Kuala Lumpur, hello over there. Thank you so much. I'm not even going to begin to try to pronounce that name. That has more syllables and letters. Amazing. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Kumaran, welcome.
San Kumaran and Roberto Martinez, a formidable event. Thank you. From all the way down from Colombia. I love you, man. I love you, man. And Jill, thank you. Street cred from real customers, real people. Hey, I love the comments. Be sure, share them on Facebook, share them on Twitter, and make the comments under the YouTube videos. Just let your speakers that were here today know how much you love them, and reach out, hashtag them, use their handles, whatever. All right, let's get into my man, Dennis Snow, customer service keynote speaker, consultant, author, former Disney employee, an amazing customer service mind, our closing speaker of the summit. Let's give it up and let's learn from our man, Dennis Snow. Well, I'm very excited. Dennis Snow is in the house, and we're going to be talking to him. He's written actually 2 books, Lessons from the Mouse, which is about his Disney experience, but also unleashing excellence. But today, we're going to focus on the Disney experience. And the reason is whenever I write an article and I include Disney in the title, it always does well. Dennis Snow from Disney, and also my great friend, now he's out there speaking and telling the world about it. Welcome to the show here.
Hey, thanks, Shep. Great to see you again.
So on this summit, we've had some amazing speakers, and you're a wrap-up guy. You're the cleanup. You're the man, the myth, the legend. We're talking about the mouse and your experience and what we can learn from that. So why don't you do real quick a fast background on who you are, and we'll bring everybody up to date why they should listen and watch you in action.
Well, I went to work at Disney World as a teenager, working on a ride called 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Best job I've ever had.
I love that ride.
I know, and it's not even there anymore, but it's still over there on my desk. And then I got into management and managed operating areas around the company. Got involved in training at Disney through the Disney University, which is the internal training arm of the company, where they onboard new cast members and so forth. And then we spun off a division called the Disney Institute. And that's what I did my last few years there. So I had a wonderful 20-year career. And what I've been doing since then is helping organizations take those key Disney principles and apply them in their own world, because the principles are pretty much, they apply to just about any industry.
Yeah, so let's start there. Realizing all types of businesses. You could have a retailer, somebody in the restaurant business, somebody who's in manufacturing, B2B, B2C. There may even people from the government watching us today. What can we learn from Disney that we could apply to our businesses?
Well, when you look at the model of Disney, people tend to overcomplicate it, When you really look at it, there are some very simple principles that they've put into place of what they want the guest experience to be. And they chose that, Walt Disney chose that word guest very carefully, because he wants people to feel like they're a guest in your home. So what does that entail, in terms of making people feel welcome, making people feel comfortable, make them feel special? So it's very, very simple. But the secret is this. The secret sauce is this. You build that into everything that you do in your organization, from how you hire people, to how you train people, to how you communicate, to what you hold them accountable for. That's the secret sauce, is building it into everything about your operation. It's a simple idea, but it's the hard part, because it takes
simple does not mean easy. So just as an example, how do you build the focus on the guest into the hiring experience?
So one of the things during hiring, you go to the casting center, very carefully chosen word, casting, because they want you to know that you're being cast for a role in the show as being hired for a series of tasks. You're treated as a guest throughout that experience, because training begins with the hiring process. So how you're treated during that hiring process sort of sets the tone for, okay, that's what this is all about. And then during the hiring process, they use standard hiring tools. There's nothing magical about it. But what they're looking for is that ability to connect, that ability to create that passion, that energy that will create a Disney experience. So
I hear a big lesson here, just to interrupt you for a moment, is that when people come in at the hiring level, they are being treated as a guest, as a customer/guest would be treated in the theme park, meaning your training actually begins before you ever even hired.
Absolutely. One of the things I ask all my clients to do is to map out their hiring process. And at each step, even to the point where somebody doesn't get the job, how do we make the person feel special? How do we create a guest experience at each stage? Because you never forget the hiring experience. Any job you have, you never forget the hiring experience.
Yep. So I would imagine telling somebody that they didn't get the job, yet making them still feel special is somewhat of an art.
It is an art, but it all comes down to making people feel respected, making sure that their dignity is always left intact. So
respect and dignity are words that I heard when I attended Disney Institute programs, that they always want their guests to feel that they have respect and dignity, even when they're wrong.
And once in a while, believe it or not, the guests are wrong.
They are. So you use the word map to talk about mapping out the interview process.
Right.
And obviously, everybody should map out the entire customer journey for the guest on the outside, the theme park. Can you give us some insight as to how Disney maps that guest journey?
So you look at the various touch points, but the terminology that I use is you make sure that you look at the touch points from the lens of the guest or the lens of the customer or the lens of the patient. So rather than saying, okay, now we do this at this step, what is the guest or the customer doing? So a good example of that is the end of the day at Disney World, you know, and people are exhausted, they're tired. You know, the kids are fighting with each other, the parents are fighting with each other, you know, it's the end of, everybody's tired. And so how do you create that magic and looking at those touch points? Well, they mapped that out and had a discussion with the people who do the jobs, which I think is key here. And the bus drivers started doing things like holding Disney trivia contests on the bus ride back, you know, getting the kids singing Disney songs. Housekeepers, when you go into the room, you know, the last part of that experience, the end of the day, you're exhausted. And the housekeepers would tuck in the stuffed Disney characters that the kids had left in the room, you know, tuck them into the beds or position them playing with decks of cards or eating milk and cookies. All of these very simple things. But when you look at it from that map, from the touched point map, I call it service mapping. Some people call it journey mapping. You add these little moments of magic to each of
I
those
like that
touch
term.
points. Yeah. It's an amazing, and it creates an amazing experience.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I just want to emphasize, because it's almost like a metaphor. Kids are tired at the end of the day. They get in the bus to go to the car. And you could say, as a typical business, let's make that bus ride special.
Right.
What does that mean? Well, we'll make sure it's very clean. Oh, very important. Make sure it's air conditioned because everybody's hot at the end of the day. Most people would stop at that point.
Right.
But you go the next step at Disney and you say, okay, what else can we do? And the bus drivers probably were involved in the decision to say, hey, let's have trivia games. Let's let the kids sing songs. And I'll bet it was some clever bus driver, some outlier who'd never been told to do that came back and said, hey, do you know what I do? And they shared that. Is that how it worked?
It's exactly how it worked. And to me, that is the key to the whole thing, is getting the people involved that do the job every day. Because you imagine in any organization, there are wonderful behaviors that are happening, that if you could capture the best of those, just by having a dialogue about a journey map or a service map, you capture the best of those, you start weaving those things into the communication and the training and so forth. You know, the tucking in the Disney characters, you know, in the hotel room, that had to start with one housekeeper, right? I mean,
one housekeeper said, hey, this is what I do.
Yeah.
So I call it a metaphor, if you will. It's the bus driver taking the kids or the families back to the car, or the family showing up into the room, end of day, dead time, and getting that little something extra.
Yeah.
So what's your version, of the people who are watching us, what's that version in their business of the opportunity for the bus driver or the housekeeper to add that little something extra? The only way you're going to get there is to talk to your bus drivers, to talk to your housekeepers. And again, I use those terms metaphorically.
Right.
You don't have housekeepers or bus drivers maybe in your business, but you've got people on the front line who are interacting with customers that can bring this back. All right.
How do you end a phone call? You know, in a helpline, how do you end that phone call in a way that customer at the end of it says, that was really nice. I really appreciated how that person handled it. Maybe
part of amazement, and we talked about this at the very beginning of our summit, is the definition of amazement is something that's better than average, that happens all of the time. And when people hang up that phone, we want them to say, boy, you know, they're always so friendly. And it's that last little moment in that customer's journey on the phone, that particular interaction, that they made a little special. Maybe it's just the right attitude. It doesn't have to be over the top.
So you bring up a wonderful point that I think is really important for the folks who are watching this. You know, we're always looking for the big, grandiose gestures that we can do, which are great when we can do them. But I believe, and I think you agree with me on this, the magic is in the little things that we do consistently. You know, those little moments of wow, where it's just something that was special. Can't always describe it, but it felt special. You know, one of the things they used to ask us to do again seems so small, but they would say, if you saw a guest getting ready to take a photograph of their family, you know, to go over and say, hey, can I take the photo for you so that you can be in the picture?
Yeah,
you know, so that the family's designated photographer is actually in the picture. Little thing, but it has a wonderful impact.
Yeah, it's important. So what can a company do right now? Somebody who's attending our summit, watching this interview, what can they do right now to get a Disney philosophy started in their business?
My main recommendation is this, is bring your team together in whatever format that's realistic in your world, okay, whatever organization you work with. Bring together key members of the team. Come up with 3 things that you would want your customers to say about their experience with you. And this is critical right now, okay? 3 things.
What they would say about you, meaning like if they walked away and they're talking to their friends,
right.
What do you want them to be saying about you?
What do you want them to say about their experience with your organization? And the reason I say 3 things is that makes you really zero in on what you want your differentiator to be. So come up with 3 things that you would want your customers to say. Then, and we're still with our team now, the next part of the discussion is, so what needs to happen in order for our customers to say those things? You know, so at Disney, we would want our guests to say they paid attention to every detail. So what needs to happen? If I see a piece of trash on the ground, I go over and pick it up and throw it away. I make sure that my costume looks right. It all starts to fall into place. That's something that you can start today with your team.
So, and that's just, what do you want your customers to say about you when they're talking to their colleagues, to say about the experience they have with you? And once you identify, and by the way, get a bunch of people involved, right?
Yeah.
And ask them all, and then choose the best 3 to start with.
Right.
And work on them. And then once they master those, never stop doing, continue to master, maybe add another one.
Maybe add another one, but those 3, I tell you, the thing that I loved about working at Disney is they kept it very simple. The idea is, you know, make it magical, pay attention to every detail, make the guests feel special, right? If you do those 3 things, it's going to be a Disney experience. And so they kept it simple, but, and this is from a leadership perspective, to me, this is key, is we have to be relentless in keeping that message and reinforcing that message over and over.
And the training that you do has to be training people toward those 3 outcomes, if you will.
Well, from the hiring, the training, the communication, all of those things. One of the questions that I get asked a lot, and maybe on some of the viewers' minds, is people will often say, how long is the training at Disney? And you know the answer is, it begins when you say, I think I'd like to work here, to the moment you leave at the end of your career. Everything in between is training.
All right, we've got 1 minute. I'm going to ask you the final question.
Okay.
The one thing you can impart to this audience, you absolutely need to know this from Dennis Snow. What would it be?
It's as leaders, we need to be setting the tone for all of this, especially right now. You know, if you want your employees to be delivering an outstanding experience, we need to be delivering an outstanding experience to our employees. We need to be modeling the values that we say are important to our customers, the way we talk about other departments, the way we talk about our customers, the way we talk about everything. People, as leaders, people know what we value by what we do, not by what necessarily just by what we say, but what we're doing.
Right.
So
actions speak louder than words.
A great friend of mine said one time, imagine this, imagine that one day, unbeknownst to you, there was a video crew videoing you all day long, and the resulting video became your company's new hire training video. What would they see? Ooh. And I just loved that, because it really makes you think as a leader about, what am I doing every day?
Wow. Power. That's very powerful. All right, Dennis Snow, you're amazing. You're magical. I thank you. You're a great friend, and I so much appreciate you being here and sharing your wisdom. So thanks for joining us here on the Customer Amazement Summit.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
Hey, Dennis Snow. Yeah, give it up for Disney and Dennis. And how about all of our speakers today? They were just absolutely amazing. the fact that all these people were willing to take their time and share, and I just think it's part of creating that amazement revolution. Ramon, what'd you think?
I think it was powerful, man. I think speaker after speaker after speaker, I think there was an underlying theme there, Shep, where people are talking about it's simple to do and it doesn't cost a lot. We hear about these billion-dollar companies, Shep, but I think we can all learn it's really just purpose. I think it's mindset. That Storm was as be an example of the company vision. So that's what I learned, Shep. And I think that it seems to me also that people have loved it. So you take a look. I'm going to go back through the comments. Jill and Dad Storm and Linda and so many others. Debbie, many of your community, Shep, have come out in force, and mine too, and joined. So I just think it was a fantastic evening of you and I together, working together, fellow speakers. I've had a blast and I've learned a lot.
Man, I remember when you came to me and said, Shep, I got a crazy idea. Would you be willing to do this? And I thought, man, if I get to work with you, let's do it, man. Let's have some fun. So I can't tell you, I'm indebted to these people. Now I owe them for the rest of my life.
You owe them for about 30 days, Shep. Why don't you put a timer on it? You owe them for 40.
Okay. And so I'm going to, I want everybody who's still here, and I know we've lost a few people, but customeramazementsummit.com, register if you haven't done it. I will send out a video in the next day or so, probably tomorrow, which will give you the instructions so that you can actually get, I'm not sure if we're going to chunk it up into the speakers or if we're going to do just one huge video with where along the way, and we'll host it, you can go to it, you can download it, whatever you want to do, whatever works for you. So we wanted this to be for the people, our people. My people, our people.
No, but it's been good, Shep. I think people have learned quite a bit too, and I think it was interesting that as we were talking, people had questions, people had their own comments. Because let's keep in mind, Shep, many of the people here, it's not like people don't know about this. So I liked also learning from the comments. People were reaffirming what we said as well. So I think, Shep, it's been a blast, and it's been great just to serve and join your team. So it's been great.
Thanks, and lots of crossover. Not so much with the people saying the same thing, but they're saying the same thing different ways. When we talked about culture, when we talked about being simple, we talked about doesn't cost a dime. All those messages. I see Scotty Werner. This was amazing. Let's do another in 2021. I just told my team a moment ago. I said, I wonder if we could do a 24-hour customer service and experience marathon.
Oh yeah. I've done a 5-hour one. It's not 24, but I did 5 hours solo.
Well, 24 could be interesting. And I think we could make it a charitable event. We could have some fun. So this is something to talk about. Roberto is there. Thank you for sure. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And my nephew, Jared, I love you, brother. I know you're in Ohio right now. You're probably quarantined to your room because they won't let college kids do pretty much anything anymore. But seriously, I hope you and your fraternity brothers and friends all got together and watched, because this is great for anybody of any age, in any job, in any responsibility, in any industry. Ramon, again, thank you and Liz. And I want to thank my team, Jeslyn, Claire, Cindy. And I want to thank all of our speakers again. I want to thank all the people that came here. I love you so much. Thank you, Laurie. You just popped in here again. And Terry, 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 I wish Dennis were here right now. Terry, I just wrote a great article in Forbes about Terry and her experience at Disney. And she taught me so much about that hiring process. It almost makes me want to go and work for Disney for a year just to be able to take it all in. So thank you all so much. Heidi, thank you for being here. Boy, I could go through the whole list. Da Palpa. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Da Palpa.
That's it.
Yeah. So cool. Everybody, thanks so much. Thanks for tuning in. We love you. And here's what I want. I want everybody to stay healthy, stay sane, stay great, and always be amazing. Thanks, everyone.